Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning on the final Monday of the month of May, and it is also Memorial Day. So, congratulations to everyone in the States. And someone who is in the States here is Cultured Casino. Happy Memorial Day, and glad to have you here this Monday.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is a day we remember all those who gave it all in defense of this country in various ways and in defense of freedom around the world. Those who lost their lives in battle, this is the day for them. Officially codified in 1971 as an official holiday here in the States. Prior to that, we were celebrating it all the way back just a few years after the Civil War. So, this is the day we remember those we lost for, in most cases, righteous causes. Thank you.
Indeed. And also in the States, Mr. Gore, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I want to also say happy Memorial Day to everyone out there, and especially those whose families have served. So thank you for your service.
And as someone from a nation that has more than benefited from that service, I also want to say thanks for the service to everyone who has served and bailed Europe and my country out on more than one occasion, for which many are eternally grateful. Speaking of my country, I'm quite far up to the north, and I'm not the only one. Across the fjord, as we like to say in Norway, we also have Mr. Chato joining us. How's it going?
Good. Thank you very much. Happy Memorial Day to all you Merkin fans out there. Enjoy your long weekend. I know you'll all be going to see Little Mermaid. I know that is the best. That is the best way to support your men in uniform who fought for your country. Go see Little Mermaid.
Yeah, we have. We'll be talking about that. Also joining us here is Script Doctor. How's it going?
Couldn't wait 2 minutes, could you? Just
nope.
2 more minutes. If I'm early, you guys are. I'm sitting here just waiting to click to go live for 10, 15 minutes. See how you.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Yep. Happy Memorial Day, Tom.
Yeah, should be my day off, Canadians.
Hey,
it's not a holiday for us today.
Right.
It's eating Hawaiian pizza day here in Canada.
Oh, is that from?
That's nasty. Pineapple goes bad the moment you put it on pizza. Scientific fact.
Fantastic. It's from Mama's Pizza.
Pizza goes bad the minute you put pineapple on.
That's also true.
Yeah. And Tom, how was your weekend?
Don't ask.
And with that, we move on to a couple of super chats here. Starting us off, Callum Lyle says for $5, as Babyface on Friday Night Lights gave an amazing speech about that snowflake from Rings of Power. Speaking of, do any of those actors have a future? And Mr. Gore, he's of course referring to Don Lemonlass, who was complaining about everything he had been subjected to since taking on that role. And do you think that the rest of the Hollywood has been impressed with these actors and will be standing in line to pick Galadriel and all the others up for more roles after the Rings of Power, which is guaranteed for 5 seasons, no matter what?
Oh man, I don't know. That we were talking before the stream. I mean, the show was kind of DOA in the fact that only 30% of people who started watching it finished watching it. And do you think that 30% is going to come back for second season, and then that figure will then be cut in half? I don't know that anybody cares, but that whole fan baiting strategy is so. It's just so easy to prove false, it's kind of it's just irritating that continues to be used as a strategy, is to shame the audience. So yeah, I don't know. I'm over that whole that whole thing. And I just, there's just nothing about Rings of Power that is compelling, or I think sort of adds to anything Tolkien. And I think we'll just have forgotten it. Hopefully
Dang.
soon. Yeah, I don't think it's not gonna make the full 5 full seasons. You know, it's one of those things where it's like they'll lose more money by making it and releasing it than if they honor that contract. It was, you know, it's like the Batgirl situation. You know, you
Well, it's
look at
also like the Star Trek Discovery situation, where what we heard is that that contractual thing was the whole reason why Netflix gave it 3 seasons before ditching it after that. Because before it would have been too expensive to cancel it, because the cancellation fee was such it would actually be more expensive to cancel and pull the plug than to just carry on and live out the commitment.
exactly. So there you are.
Yeah. Anyone else optimistic about the future of the Rings of Power actors and actresses?
I'm not. I would say that you know, if they have good agents, they may work again. But
One project will rarely kills a good actor's career.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
these actors are good and talented, they will persevere.
yeah,
We haven't seen that in Rings of Power, but there's a they have worked on other things prior
yeah.
to that to their resume and to their own credits. So who knows what next job they'll have? Heck, some of them might be huge into theater, and that's where they prefer to be. But they took Rings of Power because it's a way better paycheck. We don't know.
We do know that if any stable needs horses put down, then hire the people from Rings of Power.
Yeah, because that series does not have a good track record with horses, or indeed anything else.
So
And
there is a
Callum Lyle,
future in that. None of the actors so far pop off the screen as brilliant. There are actors who are good, who are in Rings of Power, like the father, the guy who is in, I can't even remember.
Oh, I mean Lenny Henry or Larry Henry?
No, Lenny Henry is a disaster.
Yes,
He's been
He's
been
now
killed.
Yeah,
he's been killed. No, the Aragorn's father, who's a fine actor.
I'm sure there's some fine actor, but you certainly can't tell from this series. Moving on from there, Callum Lyle also said he saw a trailer for the Color Purple remake. It looks like white guilt, annoying and pretentious, and other everyone is equal in Africa BS. Yeah, I didn't know the trailer for this was out. I haven't seen it yet, but I do have a strong feeling that Steven Spielberg's original will be a far superior movie than any such propaganda coming out.
I don't know. I think this one already has one up on the other one, and that is that it has a black director. And Oprah Winfrey's all over this like a cake.
Yeah.
I mean, so. And it's based on the Broadway version, so we'll see.
She's all over it like a bakery, you mean?
Whatever, cake, bakery. There's cakes and bakeries, aren't there, culture?
Well, sure, but I'm just saying, I mean, it's, entire bakery. Paul's muted. He doesn't know it.
It's probably for the best.
Sorry, I get culture is just saying he's increased the volume.
And then before we get into today's main topics, which is going to be quite a little mermaid centric, Darking says, what is the correct pronunciation of Roku? I honestly have no idea. I haven't really ever seen it written. So what say you?
Roku. I have many of them.
Same here. I prefer Roku over Apple TV. It's the interesting thing about Roku is it's open source. So anybody could, you could do a Midnight's Edge channel that you could put on a Roku box. And there's you should Google, for anyone who has a Roku, just look up private channels Roku. You will find lists of channels. You go into your account, you enter a code, and you'll have a channel of, you can look at like security cams in Japan or something. It's just really, there's just so many bizarre developed Roku channels. It's I don't know. I really love the platform. So there you go.
Yeah.
Roku was developed by Netflix.
Yeah. And then jumping
spun
forward
out.
a little bit to get us into our topics of today, Matthew Valente says for $5, I just saw the Little Mermaid remake. Let me tell you, one of the worst movies I have ever seen. It's even worse than the live-action Lion King. And commenting on the box office, Whiffed says, oh my lord, what is that smell? It smells like a dead fish in the corner. Oh, wait, it's just a Little Mermaid.
But the spin's telling me it's a hit, Andre, so.
Yeah, and we're about to get into that. But Culture, I trust that you have the box office figures as far as we know them for The Little Mermaid.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I've got them, and I'll share them right now. We've got Little Mermaid hitting a Memorial Day box office with $118 million debut, which to me seems like a little low. A little low. But yeah, you've got $118 million domestically. You had a $96 million over the traditional weekend frame. Here's the headline from Variety. But it's done something very disappointing for everybody out there on the global stage. And this is the thing that they're whining about right now. The simple fact that internationally, it did not perform well. In fact, if you take the $118 million I was just talking about and you roll in what was added to that by the international audience, you only get $164 million. That's a $68.3 million take globally, which is, everything but domestic market is terrible. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Well, I think Tom and I were on a stream with Valiant Renegade yesterday, and I'll repeat the same comment I said there. I think this just proves that America is not a racist country, but the rest of the world is racist because you didn't turn up for this movie. I actually think when I heard the box office, I'm saying this facetiously, folks, that's even Paul didn't laugh at that one. Okay.
No. I had food in my mouth. But that was very good. Full mark.
This is something that I frequently point out as an observer outside of the United States. The least racist country on the face of this planet is the United States of America.
I agree. So it's just annoying when you hear America is accused of that. It's irritating when obviously it's the rest of the world that's much more racist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Paul, by the way, great job on FNT. Hysterical episode. I watched the whole thing. You were so good. So and I loved hearing your early story too of the beginnings of your career. I don't know that I ever heard you talk about that before, but it was great. Just great episode.
Thank you, Chris.
Congratulations again, including that goofy photo of you on the thumbnail. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was their choice.
That's funny.
No, I had a great time and everybody was very nice to me. I have no complaints.
But this, honestly, I think when it comes to this, I was surprised it did this well, considering all the bad buzz, from the film. I'm actually surprised it did this well in the United States. It could very well have tanked like a Strange World.
Well, when they say United States numbers, they always include Canada.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It's North America. It's not United. It's when you say domestic, it's North America. So it's the United States plus Canada combined. And here's the interesting thing, because it opened to right around 118 million for the weekend in North America. Cultured. Just for fun, do you have the comparison opening weekend for Aladdin? Not worldwide, but just in North America.
Well, let's do that. Oh, wow. It's performing better than they thought it was. It's not in the cone of sadness yet, but let's take a look. We have Aladdin. I did not spell that right. A-L-L. Yeah.
No, it's one L and
one L, two D's.
Yeah. You did actually spell it right.
You homophobe, you Islamophobe. you can't spell Aladdin correctly.
I'm terrible. I should be punished.
Like,
So they look there like they're on a similar trajectory. On a 4-day weekend, Aladdin did 116.8 in its domestic. And obviously we're sitting at 117.5. Now, adjusted for inflation, Little Mermaid is incredibly disappointed.
oh
yeah,
yeah,
I was about to say, it's not just
4 years, good.
inflation is one thing. What about
Yeah.
ticket prices? What has
Yeah.
happened to ticket prices from 2019 till now 2023?
Well,
What were the ticket prices then?
Yeah, average ticket prices are up almost 30%, but when you compare to premium large format theaters, they've gone up even more substantially. I think often close to 40%, depending upon what region you're in.
Which means if we're generous, you can knock off 30% of attendance. This movie is seen by 30% fewer than saw Aladdin in North America.
you
Yeah,
do
and
good math in your head.
Yeah, and that's consistent. I mean, and when you look and you compare these side by side, the domestic opening weekend for both of these, adjusted for inflation, Aladdin would have done much better. It also cost much less. I mean, look, Little Mermaid's $250 million, Aladdin $182 million in production budget.
Yeah.
It's substantial.
And this is what makes, if we now ignore worldwide and just focus on the domestic market, I am reminded of Ike Perlmutter, who spoke about the opening weekends. He doesn't care about how big the opening weekends are. What matters is the bottom line in the end. And the higher the budget is, well, the higher the opening weekend and ending tally is going to be in order for there to be anything on the bottom line. And with $250 million in production budget that they will admit to, and they marketed the hell out of this, so you can probably add another 200 million into that. Then opening at $118 2023. That's a very disappointing opening, I would submit. Script Doctor, what say you to my assertion of that?
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, the fact of the matter is that if this was a more modestly budgeted film, and it most likely would have performed the same way, would have been in better favor on the bottom line for a studio like Disney. When you look at the trailers and you see a lot of the reviews, I don't think you can actually honestly say that, yes, you can see every cent of $250 million on that screen. And that's a problem. Like this should have been $110 million.
I saw a lot of scent on that screen.
Wow.
Yeah, but you didn't see 250 million worth of them.
No, but it stunk.
Yeah.
It stunk so bad you could see the lines coming off of it. But honestly,
I think the key to successful movie making is knowing what the budget needs to be ahead of time. And Fox used to do that really well. They were a bit parsimonious. Same with Paramount. People talk about The Edge of Tomorrow being a financial failure. I mean, I think it only made just shy of $400 million, but they made that for only 120.
Yep.
So they knew what they were doing going in, and that's just good business practice. I'm not understanding Disney's business model of just spending as much money as possible to get it out and correct all the flaws and everything else. It just makes no sense.
It's a loss of value of their own dollar amount, because
True.
The studios would have, like the accountants would say on this formula, and Robert Meyer Burnett has touted this often, that studios were able to say, oh, if we spend $100 million, we can actually make $500 million back on our investment on that. And now Disney is taking that same model and saying, well, if we spend 200, we'll guarantee $1 billion. But no, they're missing the very important aspect, which is the subject matter, the story, the concept, the actual effort put into it worthy of the audience coming back to watch it again?
Well, and not just that, but I mean, there are other metrics. For instance, do you have a named director that will bring people in? Do you have a named star? Do you have a star that can open the movie? I mean, these are all things that the studios are really, really, religious about.
Or were, at least.
I'd say they've abandoned that religion, and I think they did it a while ago. Which they've kind of gone very heretical and anti their success and their audience.
To a certain degree, Star Wars did that in the first movie, but then again, the movies 2 and 3 they banked on the stars that they themselves created.
Right, which again you can actually do, but in this situation, I'm not sure they are going to be successful in making Halle Bailey a star. I mean, think we may be looking at another, one of those failed, pushes for somebody, and that would be a shame. She does have a good voice, although, as I think somebody pointed out in their review here on this panel, she maybe doesn't have the Broadway chops that would require this, that you would require for something like this.
She could be, as Paul kind of said, I'll ape off that. She could probably do very well in a sequel to Mannequin.
There you go. I agree with that.
I don't want them touching Mannequin right now, though. They'd fuck it up.
Well, indeed.
I said sequel, not a remake.
Regardless, even the sequel sucked. It shouldn't have had a sequel back then.
Well, look, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, and this goes and it goes along with everything everybody said. I have highlighted in here the box office for the entire run of Aladdin. $1 billion.
Wow.
$1 billion. Right? Is this film a $1 billion film?
Hell to the no.
No.
That's the short and simple answer.
And I can tell you the big reasons why, and it has very little to do with it being a remake or her being black or any of that business. That dude who played Aladdin was right.
Yeah.
Because Aladdin has more quadrants to hit than The Little Mermaid. Not many boys are into The Little Mermaids. And we saw that with the audience being 63% women.
Bud Light drinkers will watch it.
Not even the Bud Light drinkers are showing up, Paul.
Sir,
because that's what we were talking about last night, actually, is like the only audience that's really going to see this is 35 to 45-year-old women.
Right.
And they're dragging their kids to it if they have.
And that's one thing, is that this is not the audience that goes back to movies again and again and again. Usually men do that. And that's one thing I think that the actor who played Aladdin had a point. And not only that, the difference here, a big difference here, Aladdin had a softer opening, but what did it have that this does not? It had word of mouth. Well, not just that, but Will Smith, yeah. And that's where it will help overseas. That's another point, script, to where this has nobody in it that anybody gives a shit about overseas, and that's why it's not playing well in China.
Yeah.
Yes,
because compared China,
Melissa McCarthy may be bigger than Will Smith, but she's not big like Will Smith.
Physically, yes, but not box office wise. Yeah, exactly. So you have this whirlwind of, I guess, a perfect storm of shit coming Little Mermaid's way. Guess what? This thing's falling off a cliff next weekend.
Yeah, because it's up against the machine.
Yep.
Machine's going to take all the kids.
Bert Kreischer?
Yes.
Well, I'm not even so worried about Spider-Man doing that well. It'll do okay, but it's not going to like.
It's going to pull off. It's going to pull off a significant segment of this audience, and it's going to. And again, there's lots of other competition.
It's going to pull the boys who weren't going to this in the first place. Is my point.
Oh yeah, they weren't going anyway. But
isn't Indiana Jones coming up next week?
No. It's not coming for a month.
That
movie has a month of crap reviews and negative word of mouth and Rotten Tomatoes to deal with, and spoilers before it opens. Mr. Gore, I want to hear your take. We've spoken about the domestic box office, which really isn't anything to write home about. But what is absolutely god-awful here is the international box office, where it opened to less than 70 million worldwide. Outside of North America. And this is a movie that's pretty much a day and date release everywhere. There's a few markets left to open in, but there's no markets that would explain this kind of figure. This kind of figure, this means it bombed. Wherever it opened that wasn't North America, it didn't underperform, it flat out bombed. What say you to this international box office, Mr. Gore?
I think people are. I mean, I facetiously was joking earlier about the fact that the international market may be racist. That's for others to determine. I don't know, but I'll just say I think people are tired of the live action Disney. I think that's fine for Disney Plus, but my God, I think that people are just tired of it. I mean, I think there's definitely Disney live action remake fatigue.
Yeah.
Setting in. I mean, the next big one is going to be Snow White. That is going to be bizarre. Snow White without the dwarves, because it's going to be 7 magical creatures apparently. So I think people are just annoyed at these live action remakes. It reminds me of this era when Disney, this was in the 90s, when Disney was making sequels to their classic movies that never needed a sequel, like Lion King 2. I even think they made a Lion King 3.
2.5.
That was actually technically a prequel, but yeah.
Cinderella 2. I mean, you could go on and on. They were all like in
Bambi 2.
Yeah, these clamshell VHS tapes. The only reason I even am aware of them is because my kids were the right age at the time those were made, and they were all sell-through on VHS, and the studios were making a fortune. What's unbelievable to me is the amount of damage that the entertainment industry has done to itself. From banking everything on streaming, which hasn't paid off, completely cutting off revenue streams like home video. It's unbelievable to me to watch an industry just destroy itself by cutting off these revenue streams. There was a life there was the life of a movie, right? And it's changed so much as to just be, here we are on the Monday after The Little Mermaid opened, just declaring its death, which isn't wrong. And looking at like what the industry used to be, which was this healthy, a movie would come out and then maybe 6 months or longer later, the home video release, and then maybe a year after it came out in theaters, it would then be on some subscription cable service like an HBO.
That was pretty much the window. Yep.
That was a model for printing money. And money translates to larger residual checks for creatives, actors, screenwriters, and whatnot. So, so all of this hard pivot. I mean, look, technology has done a lot of great things. There have also been unintended consequences for much of this that is just killing the industry. We haven't even gotten into this strike that I think is just going to go much longer than the.
Yeah, well, Script had already mentioned he thinks that like go till August, and then you got the other things hanging over that with the actors and the directors as well.
Yeah, we'll get into this.
That's going to bump everything Marvel at this point, because they have to shut everything down. They're, so Marvel, you're going to see that schedule get reconfigured, all their future projects. Sorry, Andre,
you were going to say.
Yeah, I was just saying we'll get into the strike later on here, but first, the movie. Very few in Hollywood or in the entertainment media complex admit what is going on here. To me, talking about or seeing the industry talking about this box office, this reminds me of Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which was hailed as the biggest thing ever upon opening weekend. And then in retrospect, the conversation became more and more kind of underperformed, and then it flopped. Now that is something you just take for granted. I think the exact same thing is going to happen here. I see everyone is trying to run cover for this, trying to proclaim that it opened huge, that 118 million is like somehow big given the budget, when it isn't. But then you also have this copium right here trying to deflect from everything, like Variety that talks about the China box office. The article that Thomas put up right here, where they talk about Fast X wins second weekend, while Little Mermaid flop sparks debate on Rossism, casting, correctness. Tom, I can't read from here. Can't you just take us through like the highlights in this article here?
Fast X predictably won the second weekend on top of the mainland China box office, driving past its total $100 million mark, but the disappointing start for Disney's live-action Little Mermaid was the bigger talking point. Fast X earned a $17.6 million in China, according to data from consultancy Artisan Gateway. That was 66% drop compared to its opening weekend, but still gave the film $110 million cumulative for 12 days, and has caused estimates to be further revised upwards. No surprise there. The Fast Furious films have always played
Really
very well overseas in that market specifically too. Ticketing agency MEitM, if I'm saying that right, Maoyan maybe, is now forecasting that the film will finish with RMB 80 million, or roughly 126 million, having previously predicted around 104, and then a little bit less than, or a little bit more than that. Sorry. What that would make the film the top scoring Hollywood title of the year, excluding 2022's release of Avatar. But the numbers are way down on past outings by the franchise. To date, Fast X only ranks as the 49th best performing Hollywood film in Chinese local currency terms. If Moyen's forecast proves accurate, Fast X could climb to the 40th place. In contrast, 8 and 7 are second and third on the list of imported films in China. So that's a huge drop, actually. Yes.
Yeah, let's move on to Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid, speaking of, is actually doing poor than, and even more poor in comparison, considering.
Yes.
Because if that Fast X is underperforming, that means Little Mermaid is way underperforming. The Little Mermaid is the second best performing new release of the weekend and placed fifth on the weekend chart with a poor 2.5 million. It was beaten by a new Japanese release of Sword Art Online, the movie, with 3.8 million. Second place was held by Godspeed with 6.8 million for a 4-week cumulative of 148 million, while Guardians of the Galaxy took 4.9 million for the 3-week and cumulative of 79.6 million.
I have some advice for the studios. When you're making a movie, pretend that China doesn't exist.
Well, they might as well anymore, considering how much they don't make off them.
Well, there's that too, but I mean, there's just this little thing where they're hoping beyond hope that somehow China will pull them out of their nosedive. They need to budget, shoot, and distribute the movie as if China didn't exist, and that's just gravy or sauce.
Yeah, Disney needs to realize China is not going to date you.
No.
So
Nope.
there you go.
Nope. It's just a little bit of extra cash.
You're not wrong, because the only reason China was interested in, and I know this sounds weird, but the only reason they were interested in Aladdin is because of Will Smith.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Because even back when they were doing all these like versions of movies that were pandering to China, where they'd have these like offshoots, everything happening in like Transformer films, for instance, they would even say then, we don't care. We just want to see movie stars in our movies. Yep. We don't want to see people who look like us.
Yeah.
We want to see Ben Affleck. We want to see Will Smith. We want to see Angelina Jolie. We want to see Scarlett Johansson.
Asia's like that. When everyone in every left-wing person in the United States was freaking out about that one manga anime that Scarlett Johansson was in.
Ghost in the Shell. Yeah,
Ghost in the Shell. Everyone that was, and then you went to Japan and asked people, "What do you think?" Oh, Scarlett Johansson in movie. Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Well, that's Japan, but yeah, kind of similar in that respect.
It's very similar to Asia. Asia sort of reacts the same way to American stars. They love American stars.
Yeah,
to me, it's actually a really important thing with this whole performance, because to me, this shuts down that whole talking point that Hollywood has, that everything has to reflect what the world looks like. Remember, this movie right here, The Little Mermaid, it was supposed to reflect what the world looks like. The world looks like this, so everyone can see themselves. What's funny, the world flat out rejected this movie.
Well, what's funny even more so is that the whole point of the movie is she wants to be part of our world, right? So making her more like us is kind of against the grain, right? Like, the whole point of this is kind of lost. We were talking about this last night. They even over-wokeified a story that was pre-built for woke. Like The Little Mermaid at the end. Spoilers for those who may not have seen it, because there's only a few things that are different in this movie. She saves the day instead of Eric. Well, guess what? They also then took away her saving Eric again. Because twice in this movie, in the original story, she saves Eric's bacon. So her being proactive in her own story has been switched around and flipped around. And this whole idea that in this version, guess what? She gets the Superman kiss and forgets that she has to kiss Prince Eric because plot.
Yeah. Speaking of plot, we have a few gentlemen on this panel that actually went to see this movie. So, what did you feel about the movie as a whole, including the girl boss changes that were made to it? Because Lord knows, Ariel can't be rescued.
Who wants to go first? I saw it.
Me too.
Hello, Chris.
Yeah,
Go first, Chris.
I'll give you like my quick take on it is that I think Halle Bailey was very good. I've seen a lot of reviews on YouTube, read a lot of reviews. I don't think anybody mentioned anything about her. She's not the problem with this movie. In fact, I would argue that she's a star. I thought she was, her singing was fantastic. She embodied that role. And if you told me that they auditioned a bunch of actresses and chose the best one, I would say they chose the best one. I really think that she's fantastic. The problem is the very concept itself of these Disney live action remakes. I thought if they were going to tell another story, they should have told a story of a different mermaid, because then we as the audience and a generation of kids who grew up watching the original Little Mermaid would have no idea what's going to happen. And for the first 20 minutes, I was kind of enjoying the film. I thought she's very good. It's some parts of it were weird, and then it began to wear on me. A couple of things. It doesn't seem like the director, the filmmakers were able to come up with exactly what the vision was. Is this realistic animals? Is it a realistic Sebastian Crab, or is it a cartoony? And I feel like they couldn't make a decision whether to go full realistic like Lion King or just be completely over the top, bizarre, cartoony. And they compromised, and it doesn't work. It's terrible. The other thing is the additional songs that were added. Not a single one makes the movie better. Not one. Also, the running time. This is a movie made for children. Okay, this is for kids. So my memory of the original Little Mermaid is not so great, only because it was made for my kids. They were the right age when they saw it, and I ain't the target demo, not a young girl. Okay, so I saw it. It was fine, whatever. I'm not as married to the, like, it has to be this way or it has to be that way. I don't care, okay? But I think that the running time is a huge mistake, and the studios keep making this mistake. I created a meme that's going to go on the Film Threat Instagram. Just normalize 2-hour movies. This is ridiculous. And also, I saw the movie with a packed audience. Obviously, a lot of Disney fans. Some kids in the audience. They were bored. After the first 20 minutes, they were bored, stiff. Look, we're talking about a generation that's being brought up on YouTube and TikTok. They're not going to sit for a movie that's north of 2 hours. It's just not going to happen. Look, I'm an adult, and I can't sit there and take it. It was just god awful, and this idea that the studios cannot be disciplined about the running times of films is ridiculous. Look, a children's movie or a comedy, generally 90 minutes. Keep it at 90 minutes. And I actually believe if there's an ambitious filmmaker or someone who wants to learn editing software watching this right now, do yourself a favor, get this movie on digital when it comes out, and cut a 90-minute movie of this movie.
Easy.
It would be easy to do. You cut out whole chunks, and you get rid of just like a lot of just stuff that doesn't work. That
you're 100% right, Chris. And we were talking about this together too. And like I said, I think this started back with Pixar. But no, like I think there was a discipline in that. And I think Script might agree too, because he started a big debate about this to begin with. Sure, nobody's saying uniformly this is the case. But guess what? There's nothing wrong with saying, like, you've got 90 minutes to tell your story. That's a good thing. That means that everything that's going to wind up in that story is important. You're not going to waste a single second on some ancillary BS. Right, that doesn't add to the story. And it's a discipline that feels like it's been lost. And I think you're right, Chris. Part of it is the streaming problem. They should go back to the mentality they used to have with DVDs. It's like, okay, this movie doesn't leave the house under, over 2 hours if it's an action movie, or over 90 minutes if it's a comedy or a family film, like you just said. But once it hits DVD, I don't give a shit if the unrated version's 2.5 hours. Because, there were studios like Fox that had, like, on average, they would have almost every movie would have an extended cut as a given on DVD for like 2-3 years there.
Yeah, it's just, that is such a colossal error. Where is the executive with the balls to just say, this is the length that it's going to be? I feel like the problem is Hollywood. Hollywood needs more assholes. And assholes for good, not evil. And by good, I mean discipline with regard to this. I mean, look at Black Panther Wakanda Forever, 2 hours and 45 minutes.
It's ridiculous.
No justification for it being that long. Like, that to me was the worst of Phase 4, if you ask me. I know others would argue this was the worst. Eternals. I would say Black Panther Wakanda Forever, because you killed your lead character. What a colossal mistake. There are just some obvious stupid mistakes.
Well, the box office agrees with you on that. Actually,
yeah, precisely. It's not just the theaters want to get. I feel like it's important that the studios have a healthy theatrical industry, because it increases the value and the want to see factor for their streaming services or for the inevitable release on Blu-ray. I used to be part of. Okay, maybe someone else remembers this in the chat. Hail to the chat. Was anyone ever a part of the Disney Movie Club?
I still am.
Okay. I used to be, and it would be like this thing where they'd say, hey, did you want this movie on DVD? And it was actually a really good deal. They gave you good deals. You could get, Blu-rays for like $4. It was great. I was like, I'm going to build my collection. I was getting Marvel movies and I was getting all the Disney classics, like, Bambi and whatever. I was just getting all of those.
It's still one of the only ways you can get some of the films they don't release widely, like all the Mighty Duck films, the Honey I Shrunk the Kids films, the computer that wore tennis shoes, for instance, Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yes.
You can only get those on Blu-ray through the Disney Movie Club, Chris.
Yeah, I got like
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Black Hole are another ones too.
Yeah, I got a lot of weird, obscure, older Disney stuff through that. And it was great. It was great. Who's buying Blu-rays now?
Me.
I mean, well, you and I are not average.
I know.
Tom. We're not average consumers. We're, knee deep in it. But you're
right though.
Used to buy this stuff because it was just like constantly. I remember when my kids were at that age, and you had the clamshell, the shelf of all the clamshell. That's how you knew it was a kids movie. That clamshell VHS box, right? That you can still find them at
practically indestructible. Yeah.
You could drop them and it protected the VHS. I'm certain there was a reason for that, but
there were, because if they broke, you could replace them with another one, Chris. That was the beauty of it. You just slid the thing out like DVDs now, and you slid it in a new case. That's all it was. That was why they did that. Exactly.
It's not a big deal, but all of that is just gone. All of that revenue stream is now gone. And if the conspiracy theory I've heard is that studios like the long running times, because they don't care about theatrical, they care about streaming minutes. So literally a movie that's 10 minutes longer than it should be on streaming, that's a huge factor, and it ups their streaming minutes. I think it's fine for a series, but my God, I don't think I've seen a movie this year that I didn't think, with the exception of Sisu, which was 93 minutes. Every movie I have seen this year, and even though John Wick 4, yes, 3 hours, it didn't feel like 3 hours. Not a single film I've seen this year could not have been made better by being shorter.
The only exceptions, I would say, Chris, are Renfield and Megan were tight 90-minute and hour and 45-minute movies, I think.
Those were short movies to begin with, so it's not even a
exactly,
debate, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Megan, short, fine. And they even released like the uncut version.
Yeah, and it's only like not even a minute longer, but
yeah, it's got some gore and
it's just got the gore shots. Yeah,
but my God, this is, if the Little Mermaid had the biggest flaws, it's running time. It's self-indulgent. Like, I just don't understand why release the theatrical version and then do an extended cut on your streaming service.
Yep.
And say, look, additional scenes, additional songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda. There is just who is at the helm making these choices. And it used to be, there's a really good documentary about Jeffrey Katzenberg, that era when they brought back Disney animation, because Disney animation, if people remember, in the 70s and 80s was a dark era for Disney where the magic was gone. And it wasn't until Little Mermaid was the beginning of the comeback for Disney. And then all through the 90s, each new Disney animated feature was an event.
That because of Katzenberg.
Yeah,
Correct.
that was all Katzenberg. It kind of started with Oliver and Company, but yeah, Mermaid was the huge hit. Yeah.
What's the name of the documentary? I'm so sorry.
I'm not sure now, because I was thinking it was Howard, but now I'm not so sure because you said Katzenberg is kind of more of a part of it, so it's hard to say.
Oh, with Katzenberg, and there's even, God, they did a screening at theaters for the Beauty and the Beast, where it was the rough cut, where it was just hand-drawn animation, where you saw like it was all done in pencil, and it had like temp music. I mean, it's these are creative achievements.
I think they're thinking it's Waking Sleeping Beauty. Is that it?
Yes, that's the name of it. I mean,
okay, I'll have to check that out. I didn't see that one.
Waking Sleeping Beauty. Thank you, chat.
Yeah.
The chat is always right. Thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate that. Waking Sleeping Beauty, really great documentary.
Well,
how inspiring it is, and you see now the era that we're in with, and let me just get this out. We had the unnecessary sequels to all these classics, Lion King 2, Cinderella 2, Bambi 2. It's shocking it was even made. There's a very good SNL sketch about how dumb these are, about throwing these things into the vault, and how awful those sequels are. These live action remakes, it's the same thing. This is the dark ages, the absolute opposite of creativity. And AI is not going to help. AI is only going to hasten the death of Disney and creativity. And I believe that other independents or studios that don't subscribe to these philosophies are the ones that are going to win. But when you look at the diminishing returns for Disney, you look at Illumination's rise and Disney Animation / Pixar's fall. I don't know why they have two companies. The point of those two animation companies makes no sense. Watch for those to be absorbed into each other or merged, or just one of them axed. But especially if we haven't talked about the Elementals and the mixed to negative reviews of the Elementals. It screened as the closing night film at Cannes, and who's missing from Pixar? I got a name for you, John Lasseter. So what we're seeing is, in the box office is reacting appropriately, which I think box office is a good barometer of this is what the public is into. Public, sometimes they just want, give me just a good dumb action movie, Fast X. Give me something that is popcorn animation. Give me something I can switch my brain off. Super Mario Brothers, and I think people are I think the main thing is, what's interesting is that I don't know if first week in box office is a good barometer of anything anymore. It's the second weekend, because second weekend you get word of mouth. Second weekend, and you see it's like Guardians. It's like, okay, Guardians did okay, and then the second weekend it held. The third weekend it held, and that says something. And I think that
Little Mermaid on that, yeah.
Yes, Little Mermaid's second weekend is going to be very telling. Second weekend is really when you start to really get where things are going, unless it's something like A Strange World where it just tanked. It opened Thanksgiving weekend, a long weekend, and just did awful. I was in a theater with like 4 other people watching Strange World.
Well, we're going to find out this next weekend, because it does go up against a movie that could give it some competition, but I'm not so sure considering it's not the same audience. But right. I think we're going to be having this running time discussion more than anything next week, because Into Spider-Verse 2 drops, and it is the longest animated film ever at 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's clocking in at. So I think I am serious, and that's what I'm saying. I think we're going to have this conversation next week again, because I think that movie's going to have a disappointing opening, and the reason is because of how long it is. Because the first film did modestly well. It did about 330 some million altogether worldwide. The lowest grossing Spider-Man film, but that means this one has the potential of hitting somewhere in the $500 million range, maybe a little bit more. But I'm not so sure now with that fucking runtime. Exactly, Script Doctor. Exactly. I think it's going to be a fucking problem. They're going to, because they've got movies in the theater that they got to compete with, that they're not going to be able to open 10 screens just for Spider-Verse like they did earlier this summer for other films when there was no other competition. Now you've got Guardians, Little Mermaid, and a couple other movies that are out there that are going to be, vying for the screens. They're only going to be able to give about 5 or so screens in some of the bigger theaters to Spider-Verse. That's going to hurt this movie's opening weekend, I think.
Well, 100% because of the running time. But can I discuss a rumor that I've heard? It's secondhand rumor about that film that this is how they bring Miles Morales into live action.
I would be surprised. This is isn't this supposed to be a 2-parter anyway?
Has anyone else heard that there's
no?
Okay, I just if there's any that somehow there's a shot from the back of Miles Morales's head, and you see that now he's in a live action multiverse, and you just see the back of his head. You don't see Miles Morales's face, and suddenly a person turns and looks at him, and it's Tom Holland as Peter Parker, and he somehow entered the live action space. And this is either an end or post-credit scene or something, but that is something I've heard from a source of mine who regularly goes to test screenings. So
I wouldn't be surprised.
But I'm surprised that hasn't leaked. You'd think that people would be like, this is bringing Miles Morales. That would basically bring Miles Morales into the MCU. So just look, if it turns out to be true, if it turns out to not be true, we're going to know in a few days. And
this is my reaction.
I want to know why no one is talking about My Father, the movie with De Niro.
Oh, I thought you meant your actual dad. I'm like,
no,
because we don't know him. I'm sorry.
He's dead. But
that trailer looks so bad, Paul. It shows the whole movie.
But this is my point: is how come we're not talking about important films like About My Father? I'm so disappointed in everyone.
Well, if you really want to get into it, Scorsese just announced another movie about Jesus because his last one went over so well with people.
This one is going to be 6 hours long. So.
I ain't worried about the length. I'm just worried about the controversy. But anyway, sorry, Paul.
I concur with most of what Chris was saying about the Little Mermaid. I will vociferously disagree with him on Halle Bailey. I thought she was dog shit.
Oh, really?
I thought that she cuted her way through the movie. She was okay during the talking parts. Again, I don't blame an actor being given bad writing. That's not their fault. But really where her acting chops were clearly not available were in the mute parts. And you could just see that she was I called her a Tootsie Roll Pop.
I thought she was very charming.
Charming, yes.
Very charming.
Oh, she has that royal jelly. That I'm not arguing about. She's cuting herself through the movie, but I thought she's a terrible actor.
Well, you know what? Based on everything that I have heard, including from you, Chris, that also points out how charming she is and how desperate the entire entertainment media complex is towards saving her and her career. I mean, you even saw this over at Beyond the Trailer. The only thing Grace Randolph was going on about was basically how to save her career. This tells me that Paul is right. She's really something of an.
Oh, no. I mean, Chris can have his own opinion.
She's not a great actress, but she has a ton of charm and can charm her way through the role. But
you might be right, Andre. But it could also just be what we were kind of saying the other day. Is that's the only thing anybody can attach themselves to give this movie a positive review.
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Because in every way, shape, or form, it's
That's what
lesser
Andre's
than
saying.
its
That's what Andre is
original. Yeah.
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 And we
I-
are unfortunately losing.
Well, I just mean not in the
Mr.
sense of
Bourne here.
Yeah, I gotta
just want
run.
to say not in the sense of saving her, but just because it's the only thing they got.
We will see Hallie's chops in The Color Purple, the musical. That's where we'll see whether she can act or not.
Before we lose Chris, though, we got some super chats. Waddle D's Nuts says, hell, Chris. Well, I think he means hello, Chris. One of my favorite Family Guy skits was Aladdin 4. Jafar might need glasses. Number 1 or number 2. They kind of look the same.
That's great.
Oh, I get
Thank
it.
you for that.
I get it.
Yeah, Waddle D's Nuts says, Happy Memorial Day. Hey, Chris, in your view, who is better, Indy's side character Shia LaBeouf or Phoebe Waller-Bridge?
Ugh, well, Phoebe Waller-Bridge just looks insufferable.
I'd take Shia any day over her.
Shia, yeah, but I don't know why they didn't use Kie Kwan. He would have been so good. I mean,
Right?
he's grown up. He looks. If you had made him the side character, the sidekick instead of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, we wouldn't be having this conversation about how bad the film is.
Right, and he already has his time traveling chops.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And we've already seen him save India a dozen times before. So for him to have to come in and help older India out would not be abnormal for us to see.
And maybe he's older and he's married. He has a family and
Exactly. Yeah.
and like would have been great. Kie
No, you're right.
Oh my God. It would
Especially if he drug him into an adventure. Yeah. Like he's like, I got a family at home. Like, why am I doing this? Because I needed your help, kid. And you're the only one who could ever get me out of trouble I could trust. You know,
I know
shit
exactly
like
why they didn't do that. It makes perfect sense. It's what
More men.
everyone would have wanted. Just like everyone wanted
Yeah.
to see the original trilogy cast reunited on screen one more time. And we never got it because Kathleen Kennedy wanted to do something else. There's your answer.
This is
That's
what I mean about
brilliant
studios
idea.
making poor decisions. Who is the authority at Disney saying, what do you mean you're making a Star Wars sequel? It's the adventures of Han, Luke, and Leia. Throw Lando in, please. The audiences want Lando.
Yeah.
Where's R2D2's not in a freaking corner for the whole film, covered because he turned himself off. Ridiculous. I mean, I know this comes up over and over, but like there's that. When you look at Disney, all the obvious poor decision making are executives not growing a pair saying, absolutely not, we're doing this.
Chris,
Like,
can I point
do
something
that.
out that I think you might appreciate? I'm one of those who will be quick to say, no, Kathleen Kennedy didn't really go out of her way to try and destroy Star Wars so bad, and this goes against our argument at the court, but I might have to use this one. You know, it's funny. They did manage to take both George Lucas and Steven Spielberg's favorite character and put him in a tarp in the corner for the whole fucking first movie. I never really thought of that till now.
Isn't it irritating? I mean, look, and I actually, you know what? I like some of the new characters in the new Star Wars sequels. Don't get me wrong. I thought BB-8 was fine. I thought the new characters fine. You can bring in new characters. Look, they could have done an adventure with Han, Luke, and Leia. It makes no sense. The fact that Picard season 3, whatever you think, if you've not seen it yet, you really it was basically Terra Metalis schooling Hollywood and like, here's how you respect the legacy, introduce new likable characters, and tell an adventure story and give everyone everyone at least time to have a storyline that pays off. And the youngest person in the cast was LeVar Burton at 69 years old. 69. He was the youngest of that cast. And it's amazing the fact that they couldn't pull together for one movie. You highlight Han, Luke, and Leia, and then maybe by the end you're handing it off, and they're less involved. Those characters are less involved in the other films, and the new cast kind of takes over. I think that would have been fine. That would have been great. And Kathleen, I'm tired of saying it about Kathleen Kennedy, but unfortunately, guys, I got to run. But if you Wednesday afternoon, 1 p.m. Pacific time, stop by the Film Threat YouTube channel. The continuing critics court. Tom, in my opinion, Tom Connors may, if this whole YouTube thing doesn't work out, could have a job as an attorney. He was amazing on the prosecution. Woo! I think we threw up some clips. This week we have Ryan Cannell is going to be joining us on the prosecution. It's going to be on fire. We also have some star witnesses. I don't want to ruin anything, but Check out Critics Court Star Wars on Trial on the Film Threat YouTube channel this Wednesday in no conflict with Night's Edge in the morning. And unfortunately, I got to run. I'll dying to talk about Flash, but maybe we'll get to it first thing next week.
Oh, yeah.
But definitely going to have to work in the R2D2 defense, I think.
Yeah, the R2D2.
Well, that's a J.J. Abrams thing.
It's putting him in the corner.
Yeah, well, JJ put him in the corner because he owns a majority stake in BB-8 and DO. Those are his droids. He makes money off them.
Yeah, I just
how horrifying that is the reason, not a story reason. It was because of greed that JJ.
Well, he did that to Star Trek.
Yep.
Yeah.
He purposely rejigged Star Trek so he would get ancillary marketing money.
Yeah. Remember, Disney didn't want to do that because Disney realizes, oh, wait, if we don't have R2-D2 and that's what we own, we don't get the money on the merchandise for that toy.
Right.
JJ gets the money for BB-8. That's not a Disney thing. That's a JJ.
Like a red arm. Why didn't they just give him green wheels?
JJ changed the communicator, the phaser.
The Enterprise.
He would get money.
Started. J.J. Abrams is a hack and a fraud.
Yep.
He hasn't made a film since Rise of Skywalker and should never make a film. I think Hollywood is on to him. I think Hollywood figured out that this guy's a fraud. And,
20 years too late. I was there on the pilot of the plot thing.
The quote we heard, and then it was kind of backed up by a few other articles after the fact, was that they were starting to figure out that J.J. Abrams is the only one who makes money off these deals.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, I got to run, everybody.
Bye, Chris.
Love you, Chris. Take care, brother.
Bye, Frank.
I always love hanging out with you guys. See you next Monday. Later.
Indeed.
And happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day, sir.
Here.
But yeah, this article then goes on about like the racist debate that's going on right now. And I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseam for months now, and I don't really see the point in dragging it out even more, but it will start to become, I think, a talking point among the media a bit more because, yeah, I mean, you go into the Rotten Tomatoes culture. We were talking about this a little bit like last night, and how, yeah, sure, the critics score and the audience score looks pretty good at first glance, but once you take out certain considerations, like if you go to the top critic score, it's not so good. And same thing with if you
audience
kind of looked at the non-manipulated score, but then you had IMDb, who basically I said it right, IMDb,
IMDb,
who basically flat out came out and said that they are fortifying the score on The Little Mermaid. Isn't that right, Culture?
Yeah, they're weighting it artificially because of a disturbing trend or whatever their excuse.
I don't have the exact terminology in front of me, but I'm like, God, I wish I could use this in court.
Yeah, and look, this is not the first time this has been done for a Disney property. I mean, everybody kowtows to Disney. Why? I don't know, because they are clearly losing the power of the audience. And, you know, at a certain point, you have to stop shilling for a company where, you know, the only thing you're doing is damaging your own reputation.
They haven't lost the power of the LA lunch.
Maybe not, but that LA lunch and that cocktail is not, you know, eventually going to be worth your credibility.
Don't underestimate. I'm telling you, those kinds of personal relationships in the bubble that is Hollywood are very strong.
Yep.
They don't
because
really
they're
care.
reciprocal. They're very reciprocal. When someone else is going down, they like to take advantage of them. And because they know if they help them and they rise up higher, they're going with them. It's a very reciprocal relationship. You cannot... Once you get a good one, you're in with that person for quite a while, unless you do something really, really, really bad.
And that's the biggest problem with access journalism, and that's and that's led to the dumbing down of the material we receive, because there are the people that are not telling the truth are really just parasites because of what you're talking about. They are the equivalent of a parasite at that point.
And here's the IMDb thing, and this is what bothers me about this: is I used to trust the IMDb a little bit more.
I don't know.
Not as much as I used to, yeah.
Well, they're owned by Amazon now.
They're owned by Amazon,
that doesn't help either. But it says here, our rating mechanism has detected unusual voting activity on this title, referring to Little Mermaid. To preserve reliability of our rating system, an alternate weighing calculation has been applied, meaning they're fortifying it. Although we accept and consider all votes received by our users, not all votes have the same impact or weight. Why is this?
This is the same thing that happened with Amazon when the Rings of Power came out. It's like, yeah, we consider everything, but unless it's glowingly positive, we're not going to show it to everyone or count it or let it be part of the sport.
Exactly,
They literally did that. They were like, oh, you have a negative review? Well, that's not going to be visible, only if it's possible.
And then it goes on to say, when unusual voting activity is detected, an alternate weighing calculation may be applied in order to preserve the reliability of our system. We are currently observing an unusual distribution of scores, which demands the need for caution. We encourage you to make up your... Meaning that people are fucking voting the same. Meaning
they're voting with negative.
Exactly.
They don't like it.
God forbid, because if it was the other way around, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So, and this is the most blatant shit I have ever seen in my life next to the Lord of the Rings. Thank you, Andre. In that respect, that's the closest I can remember. They've actually just flat out said, yeah, we're doing it. You know, because with the other things, they've hinted at it. We've seen the activity in action, but we've never actually got them to admit it. Now they're just flat out admitting it at this point. Like, so I don't know. It's just sad that they've got to fortify the rating for this movie.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on this before we move on?
Well, my final thought is that they're looking at the wrong solution. The right solution is just to make better movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're panicked because they don't know what else to do.
Ammo says here, ratings will continue to be weighted until ratings improve.
Yeah, exactly. The beatings will continue until you start enjoying the beatings.
Yes, until you enjoy the beatings. Yeah,
exactly. Like, what's the original saying for that again? Something's going to be shit until morale improves. I don't know.
And you know what? It's one of those things when I was at the CBC and everyone was, back then, the CBC's ratings were plummeting as an organization and trust and all that stuff. And the things that management were trying to do to manipulate the game a bit, weigh the dice. And I just said, make better stuff.
Right.
You have no other lever to pull to change the brand of the network is to just make better stuff. And you can see evidence of it when ABC was the absolute last place network, to the point where Bob Hope made a joke in Vietnam where he said the best way to end the war in Vietnam is to put it on ABC.
There you go.
No, he wasn't wrong,
because it'll be canceled in 2 weeks. And but then they got one hit after another, and then suddenly became the #1 network, and happened to NBC during Tartikoff's period. So you only have one lever to pull under these conditions, and which is when people say, oh, what's Disney is, ready to, unless they go bankrupt completely, at some point, there could be an individual, a Tartikoff or whatever the equivalent is, that comes on board and is visionary enough and is able to say no to enough people to pull it out of its nosedive. It can happen.
Well, that's an entirely reshaping of their management.
But that is what has to be done.
I agree with you.
I mean, you have no other choice, and make good product and stop making reruns of old shit.
Right. And well, they don't have any creativity. I mean, that's what that is.
But it's gone. It seems to have disappeared.
Yeah. And in light of the collapse and the failure of Little Mermaid, which, I mean, we'll know whether or not that's officially the case next weekend, but I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. It looks bad.
Yeah. It doesn't look good. It doesn't also look good for another film that Disney's releasing under their Pixar brand, Elemental. So that thing looks like the next Strange World. And I have to tell you, can Disney weather all of this anti-family backlash that they're getting right now? Can they weather all of this? Because this is bad. I mean,
Elemental does look better than Strange Worlds.
This does not. Okay, I just have to say it's not so much that Elemental looks better than Strange World, so much as there was nothing one could say was good about Strange World.
Nothing.
Well, not only
This
that,
is
I
not
think
a
we're
very high
seeing.
bar.
I think we're seeing a reversal, and we talked about this last night. I think we're seeing a reversal on the Strange World Black Panther thing, to where I think that they're doing that, or not a reversal, but the same thing again, I should say, where they're already, although I think Strange World came out before Black Panther, in this case, Elemental's coming out after Little Mermaid, but I still think they already shoved all of whatever money they were going to of Elemental into the Little Mermaid. And that's where they've been boasting all this money they've been spending on advertising, and they ain't spent shit on Elemental because they know they got another stinker on their hands.
Oh, Elemental's big trouble, and they know it is. And it closed the film festival at Cannes last night. It got a very tepid and polite 5-minute ovation.
Did it?
Oh, just like Indiana Jones and the Picket Destiny.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a counter to the whole morale will be, or the meetings will continue until morale improves. And that comes from this really great film right here. If you haven't seen Rolling Thunder, do yourself a favor. It is a great film. It says, you learn to love the rope. Exactly. Yes, and that is where you won't be broken no matter what they throw at you. And I don't think we will be broken no matter what they throw at us.
Movie?
No, actually it had, trying to remember his name. I just talked about it a few weeks ago. No, yeah, he's in it, but he's the second lead. The first lead is, I can't remember his damn name now, but
I have no idea.
There's a great hook to the movie, and that's all I'm going to say. There's a clue in that. William Devane, yes, thank you. So, Andre, you've seen it before?
Oh yes, I have. It's one of the.
Oh, isn't it bitchin'? Yes, it is bitchin'. Oh, yes. The whole story is. I don't want to give anything of it away because it's such a great story. I mean, the movie itself is very 70s, so don't. Yeah,
great hook. I will say that.
Yes, a very great hook to the film. Matthew Valente says Beauty and the Beast had a $350 million opening weekend. That's how far Disney live action has fallen. That's a good example there too.
I just want to everyone who's like coming at me after yesterday's video where I said it's underperformed and are trying to argue that, but The Little Mermaid did 180 million. That's amazing. To which I say, no, it needed to do twice that. Look at Beauty and the Beast. It opened to $350 million worldwide. That is what The Little Mermaid needed to do. The Little Mermaid needed to open to between 300 and 400 and closer to 400 million. With that budget, that's what it needed. Opening to less than 200, that's headed for flop territory.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be bad, and even with a somewhat decent domestic open, but definitely well under expectations, I would say. Little Mermaid's in huge trouble.
And then Meredith G says Bailey is charming girl, is a cultivated talent, and her father should have made sure she did a lot of stage work before he put her in movies. Yeah, is she ready for this?
I don't think that she was the problem in this one, though.
No. And I would never say that. But again, when you write a shitty script, as Script Doctor knows a lot about, you're really hoping that the actors pull your ass out of the fire.
Whoa.
Elusive says, can't believe I'm saying this, but Disney really could have used a Tom Rothman over the last 2 years. Don't know if the films would have been better, but they damn well would have been shorter. This is true. Yeah, this is very true.
Tom Rothman. His name was Ike Perlmutter.
Yeah.
Yep, and then they sent him out.
Kind of mixed with Bob Chapek, you do kind of have.
Rothman had taste. Perlmutter just knows money.
There's a big difference there too, because Rothman just doesn't have the time of day for this comic book sci-fi bullshit.
That's the thing. He has taste, but he only has taste for artsy, fartsy, fancy stuff. And there's room for that, but his taste is strictly limited to that.
Yeah.
Not for anything genre. That he's worse than useless in.
Then Buff
you can't like everything.
Yeah. No, but he's at least admitted. That's the thing. He has improved. Tom Rothman used to be on our hit list, and real quickly, I'll just say this, but I've said it before, and it's really weird saying it, but Tom Rothman is the best thing that ever happened to Sony, even though he was the worst thing that ever happened to comic book movies in 20th Century Fox. Yep. He practically destroyed that company and practically destroyed comic book movies in the process of it. But yet he went over to Sony and turned that company around. There was a time when Sony was below Bomb Factory Lionsgate in revenue. and he came in and he pushed them up. Now they're one of the most lucrative studios out there, and that's how he's done it, is being able to do these little pictures, and he doesn't concentrate on the big box office stuff. And when there is something that's big and bloated, he comes in and cuts the fat.
And part of that also, I think that he learned, like, okay, fine, looking at my own track record with these comic book movies, where all of mine bomb and everyone else's does amazing, maybe I don't get this. Maybe I just shut up and just keep the budget low and then let others deal with it. He did that, and it worked amazing.
When it came to Spider-Man, he is the reason that Spider-Man is still in the MCU, or he would have been gone 2 movies ago, because Amy Pascal, if she'd have had her way, she'd have yanked him out and we'd have more woke shit like Spider-Verse. But he's like, no, we're working with them because you've already proved to me you can't do this.
Yeah. And Marvel can.
Yeah. And Marvel gave him their first $1 billion Spider-Man movie. Yeah.
Yeah. But Rothman, he nails this. But moving on.
Absolutely. $20 from Buff Geek. He says, I was in Paris this past week where I saw a sign of how poorly Disney is doing. The flagship Disney store on the
Champs-Élysées. Yeah, that's
Thank you very much.
Paris.
Is closing at the end of May. I didn't see any other stores struggling along with. That's not good. But I have heard a lot of these Disney stores are shutting down. You had said something, I think, about that culture, right?
Yeah, they're doing quite a bit of shutdown of their stores, and the limited ones that they have left are probably going to find the chopping block. Performance of Disney retail locations, brick and mortar locations outside of theme parks, they've gone by the wayside. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm sure many of you will note that they have a difficult time selling merchandise now.
Yep. Who wants this crap? What's your first thought? Says, like an Aquafina Scuttle doll. Who wants that? Whoever decided to give Aquafina a song needs to be fired. Indeed. I think that was Lin-Manuel.
The audience I was at loved the song.
What?
The audience I was at loved the song. That's all I'm saying.
You love the rap?
They loved the rap. The audience loved the rap.
Well, the audience comes in no accounting for tastes. So
that's absolutely correct.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying.
Fair observation.
Matthew Valenti says Hallie has a good singing voice, but her acting, no offense, sucked.
Yeah, and as someone I think rightly put, I would love to see her do a 10 shows a week Vegas run the way some of the big professionals can nail. Then I'll respect her voice.
Hillis Mallory says that pic of Ariel popping her head out of the water, is her hair supposed to be wet? Yeah, this is something I heard a lot of the critiques about, was the how they look in and out of the water and all that kind of business.
Was one of my biggest problems.
Yeah, and people were saying like Harvey Bardem looked like a drowned rat when he got out of water.
A lot of people were saying it was very inconsistent look under the water and on land. So yeah.
Well, again, it's the thing that Chris was talking about, which I did too, is that what level of realism do you decide that you're going to go with? And Javier, when he came out of the water, did not look very majestic.
Yeah, and I'm surprised there's not more comparisons to Avatar, considering they just did that, and how
the
lengths that Cameron went to make it look like it was underwater.
Yeah, you either decide that everything underwater looks like it's a Jacques Cousteau documentary of the Australian coral reef, or you go absolutely balls to the wall crazy animation. There's no in between.
What about the fish face controversy, right? I mean, it's just how nightmare fuel do you want these things? Because
again, you could have made everything look a bit more what was the movie with Dory in it?
Finding Dory or Finding Nemo.
Yeah. So that was a really neat balance between real fish and anthropomorphized.
Well, and Pixar also used a new program that they had.
Hold on,
made.
wait a second. Yeah. They applied it to every goddamn creature practically in the movie, in the thing. They even gave it to the turtles. Anyone that they interacted with didn't mix up ultra real with their animated 3D version of it. So, that was one of the main problems with this movie, is that they couldn't decide what animation style they were going to use underwater. There was at least 3.
Yeah. Well, and I was just going to say, with Finding Nemo, they actually had a new way of doing water with animation. That was they found, and that was one reason that helped it look real. But moving on from there, you're also talking about that Uncanny Valley thing as well, which I think was a problem with like the Scooby-Doo movie and the Garfield movie, because you had one character who looked kind of semi-realistic but semi-cartoonish, but then you have the real world otherwise. And it's like, okay, you got to go one or the other. You can't.
Nope.
It's too weird otherwise.
Yep.
Yeah. JRG Project says Indy 5 flop, not Little Mermaid flop. Elemental LOL. Well, likely to flop. 1, 2, 3 strikes and you're out of the box office game. Our red-headed mermaid has been vindicated. Disney is being actively rejected. You forget one thing, guys, and this is something that I think a lot of people forget. They had the biggest movie of last year with Avatar.
Yeah, but that again, I will point out they bought that film with the $72 billion in order to record.
It's a Fox movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still owned by Disney at the end of the day, and they get to benefit from it. People forget about that because I've run into a lot of people who are like, fuck Disney, fuck this, fuck that.
Not a single Disney executive touched Avatar with any part of their body.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The problems with that, we can point squarely at Cameron. Like he wouldn't allow them to do anything. I agree with that.
Oh, no. And there's that too. Independent of the fact that Disney didn't touch it, Cameron wouldn't have let him.
Bud Light is here and gives us $10. Thank you, Bud Light. I'm surprised you have the money.
I
was going to see The Little Mermaid, and I just can't. I'm having my own problems right now. I hear you.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, but are you going on a hiking trip with the North Face?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You have to go on a hiking trip in heels with North Face to be.
That's right.
Yeah, and then go to Target for refills.
Josh Kelsey sends in a $20 donation. Didn't say anything, but thank you so much, Josh. We appreciate that. Daniel says with $2, Disney is investing in Marxism returns, not profit. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, certainly
ESG,
the ones that Disney have to abide to are doing that. Disney itself is a slightly different matter.
Yes, indeed. And I'm trying to get all the Little Mermaid ones before we move on to our other story here and then get into the super chats again. Callum Lyle says Little Mermaid caused fights. Yeah, I saw that. At least 2, I think it was, in theaters.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, right? That's counter. Well, okay, so you know we hear these stories about Joker, and they had to put security there so that people wouldn't, shoot up the theater or whatever. And yet there was like a machete attack at the Frozen 2.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
When they were trying to say Joker was going to be the problem. Yeah.
And then you just have this happening with Little Mermaid. That's so amusing. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then we've got investigative examiners who says great video on ESG. A massive shareholder class action lawsuit is what's going to stop ESG and CEI. Fiduciary duty lawsuits against Target, Disney, and others is the way.
Yeah,
I agree with this. I agree completely because
I can see where you're coming from.
As it is right now, for those referencing the.
There's one more on that actually.
Reference to our video from yesterday, just to address real quickly. Yeah, all of the other shareholders, the smaller ones, are being royally screwed at the expense of other stakeholders that don't have anything invested in the company. Yes, moving on.
No. I was just gonna say on that note, UNCSC forward down Don to Don says watched your video on Disney and stakeholder capitalism. Given how entrenched these attitudes are, is it more likely that Disney will go bankrupt rather than going back to how it was? No, they won't go bankrupt. But it's going to be a good long time before they change their ways. I've said it before. Disney's going to be one of the last ones because they are so deeply entrenched.
Part of the challenge is that BlackRock has to make money too, and if their clients are losing money, they're not going to make money. So I don't know how long they can.
Yes and no. That's a truth with some modification.
I don't know how they can hold out forever.
Well, money comes from other places too. That's the thing. They get okay. For instance, this is how this kind of works, at least correct me if I'm wrong, Andre. Basically, you make a movie about BLM, then you get money from one of these BLM organizations to make said movie, right? So the money comes in from one of these outside organizations. That's why I said they're moving on to the environmental stuff now, because they've already milked all the social ones dry, basically. There's no money left in it. So now they're just moving to the next thing. And that's why every movie for the next few years is going to be about, environmental crap, like that migration movie that's coming.
Yeah.
There's also the off chance that BlackRock or other companies similar to it are shorting against Disney as well to make money that way.
Against their own.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised, because BlackRock, they do a little bit of everything, because they do fund management and everything like this. And I freaking guarantee you, as one part of BlackRock is lording over companies like Disney, another part of BlackRock, whose job it is to make money, they're going to see, okay, which companies are we going to short today? Anheuser-Busch, that's a good candidate for shorting. Disney, after this earnings call that we know was going to come out, let's short our positions right there. And of course, when you do see that the share price goes down, you know what happens? Well, that happens because now suddenly there's a lot of shares on the market. Who has a lot of shares to sell off that way? I would not be surprised in the slightest if there absolutely is something to that. Anyone who thinks that there's some kind of like ethics deal that prevents companies like BlackRock from trading the shares for a company they have some kind of other interest in, all that's needed is for one department to formally not know what the other is doing. Formally, I stress. So they absolutely make money on that. You can make money on share prices going up and share prices going down, which is why they don't have to be. Their success is not contingent on the success of their debtors.
Yeah. And then again, Matthew Valente pointed out that, hell, it's even worse than the live action Beauty and the Beast. Sorry, I've been going out of order, just trying to find the ones that have to do with topics at hand. So if you sent this before the other one, just the same. Thank you so much, Matthew. And yes, this is not boding well. The only one that is kind of in tandem with is Aladdin. And I think we're going to see the big separation this coming weekend. That's what I was talking about earlier. And then we've got Scrapto, that's what it looks like. Okay.
Scrapto, I think.
Yes. So saw 2 days Mario again, full of kids laughing. Yeah. So Mario's still doing well in theaters. And then on the shorter movie time going, Burley Knoll says shorter movies give the theaters more short times per screen. Yep, that's exactly the point I was getting at with Spider-Verse. That's where I think that's going to have some issues. Speaking of, STR Red Wolf says, if it doesn't have Spider-Ham, it's a bad movie. Well, we have 280 different variations on Spider-Man in the movie. That means there's more Spider-Man-mens in this movie than there is minutes.
But it's close.
Close. And on that note, also, Adam Wolford says, I don't like how they made Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, into the, I think it means bad guy. Finally getting that Spider-Man, he is the villain. Well, I'm sure by the end of the film, he'll be redeemed somehow. But yeah, there's some things about this one I think people are not going to be as...
I don't know about that. I mean, just look at... Wakanda Forever. That wasn't too kind to Latinos anywhere. And Miguel O'Hara, he's a Latino. And Marvel evidently isn't too fond of those.
You got a point.
Technically, Miles Morales is as well. His mother's Latin.
Yeah, but they really have tried to forget that as much as possible. They even went, and this is what part of the reason I didn't like the first one, is they even went out of their way to add more black stereotypes to him than were in the comic. And it was like, really? You're really pushing towards that. And yeah, anyway, instead of, if they would actually celebrate both parts of it. We've already talked about how underserved the Hispanic community is a million times on here, but yeah. Moving on, let's see here. We've got Meredith G, who says barely is a charming. Oh, we got this one already. Thank you. Let's see here. I want to make sure we get all the ones that are kind of more in line with what we're talking about first. Philip M sends in $30. Thank you so much, Philip M, and says, good morning, panel. Repeat, Iger dislikes KK because of Iger's projection. KK reminds Iger of himself. They both ran their companies into the ground. Boy, you're getting really psychological here.
I don't think so. They had way different methods of doing so, and neither of them intended to run their companies in the ground. You cannot prove that.
There's a slight difference, though. A KK actually ran Iger's company into the ground.
Yeah. And Iger ran Disney into the ground by buying things, and KK just doesn't know how to make things. So
yeah. So they're basically like the worst couple in history.
Yeah. Interesting observation, though. So it's certainly like food for thought. But I think there may be other things which come to mind before that particular thing.
I think it's more incompetence mixed with ego, mixed with hubris. Exactly. Because I don't think KK intentionally tried to destroy Star Wars, but she did intentionally try to get rid of the classic characters. That part is true.
I think she genuinely believed that the audience love for Star Wars was so great that she could do whatever the hell she wanted to do, and people would come just for the Star Wars brand. And then she was probably surprised to find out that wasn't the case. And Iger, if anything, would have been more surprised.
Yep. It's never the case. The brand is only as powerful as the quality with which it produces.
You'd think these Hollywood types would know that, but I guess not.
They did generations ago.
Yeah. That was in the past.
Yeah. Then Mage Morgan sends in $20. Thank you so much. Says, hey, Midnight, long-time listener, first-time caller. Well, thank you.
Oh, yeah,
rewatching
thank you.
Super Mario. Yeah, rewatching Super Mario at home, I caught a line. Toad says, now that is how you princess. Yeah, I caught that when I first saw it. And I felt they're directing those words at Disney. I didn't think of that, though, but that's a good catch. Thanks, guys. Love the show. Yeah, it might have been a bit of a crack at Disney.
I would not be surprised, because we have to keep in mind that this is a story where the script went through different iterations. And it could very well be that was something of a crack of like, yeah, that's how you do it, and you don't need to do anything more than that. Because originally she was supposed to be this complete girl boss at every freaking level, whereas Mario was supposed to be, well, basically Luke Skywalker, a complete loser and a joke. And that obviously didn't happen. So maybe those words were directed at Disney. It could be. Or maybe it was something that was left over from when she was a complete modern-day Disney princess.
Maybe. But yeah, I got to imagine there might have been a little bit of tongue-in-cheekness to that. Mexican Iron Man says, I interviewed Mexican Iron Kid. And posted on YouTube where he said he didn't want to see Mermaid because he thought it would be Velma 2.0. He's hanging out with you too much, Mike.
I will also say that I haven't heard anything in my household. I've gotten zero requests.
And you have a little girl, so
yeah, I do. That have wanted to see this movie. It's out here. No desire to see it. No one has been asked about seeing it. I got requests for Super Mario, not for
you
this.
Did.
Yeah.
Well, in this respect, though, no, I'm just kidding about the spending too. You can never spend too much time with your kid, Mikey. But yeah, he's starting to sound like you. That's a problem.
No, actually, I think that's a very good.
Yeah, that's actually probably a very
positive role model.
He's just a little young.
We just need to introduce his kid to some Elf to like break that.
Oh no, don't do that to the poor guy. That's where I'll draw the line. I love Elf and all, but I mean, come on. You know, Bob A says what we all need right now is Gwen Gabby Gwen Ross. Is that like a female version of Glenn Gary Glenn Ross? Otherwise, I have no idea what you're getting at here.
Culture is nodding, so he must have gotten it. But
no, I think that's a play on the Spider Gwen thing.
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the most wokest characters ever, and people just let it happen.
And a pregnant Gwen in this new
Spider-Verse thing, yeah. And Dark Winter says his sense of smell is detecting manure. Yeah. I think we all are. Brandon, the anime guy's here, and he says, amigos, in my opinion, as long as the specter of ESG DEI is required for investments, nothing will change in Hollywood. Want to be wrong, fear I am right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think you may be wrong, because here's like the thing that, as I've said before in other videos, things are changing, and it's difficult to change because you have these forces resisting the change. But the studios, your Disneys, your Sonys, your Universals, they're not all Disney. Look, for instance, at Universal and what they did with Super Mario. They are also invested in this stuff right here, but they were still able to do it in a way which pleased the audience. Same thing with the Guardians of the Galaxy. There are different ways of doing this. And I think that on their way towards ditching it, the studios will first have to learn to make it more subtle in order just to win over the audience, because it doesn't help if you have access to ESG-linked credit if you don't have a freaking audience. This is something that Target is finding out right now. They lost, what, 10 billion in a week or something? That was surprisingly efficient. This is something that Anheuser-Busch is very well aware. Yeah, they can do all of everything that they want to do, but if the audience are determined, or their customers are determined that we're done now, and everyone is watching, I assure you, everyone, not just Hollywood, not just the beer industry, but everyone is watching what is happening right now, because this is the audience and the customers rising against this stuff. And that is something that no ESG money in the world can address.
And this is what I was going to say, and I think why our video hasn't been flagged down yet by YouTube. They're going to start realizing that we know what's going on here and how this works.
Well, they've stopped hiding it.
Yeah, the other side of this is, how do they get money out of this besides like the groups that I mentioned before, like political driven groups. The other way is the whole ESG points and on their credit score. Like, this is the scary part to me, in that, how many points did Bud Light lose in this whole thing on their credit score? So now they're looking at it as, okay, so we lost so much millions this week on sales, but they're more worried about the money they can't borrow later down the road because of this. That's another problem here.
Oh yeah, every studio makes stuff off of credit and loans. They don't use liquid cash, and in order to way for them to still get those good credit score points from such investors and also earn a profit is basically to find creative ways to appease both sides, where it's like, okay, so you want diversity, equity, and inclusion with regards to the characters. So you have to get a team in there to be like, okay, these are the parameters. Now you have to make these characters good, likable, accessible to audiences that they'll actually want to see again, and a very good story. And it's a very tricky thing to balance, and only the most creative people can pull that off. I think Super Mario did an okay job doing that. I mean, it was fun. It appeased a lot of people, and it leaned on some things, but I mean, it still has a lot of its own flaws and errors to it overall. But that's a closer step in the right direction to basically stave off this essentially hostage maneuver that some of these companies are doing with the studios and with creative entertainment.
Yeah, it's very much so. And it's how they interject their politics and bullshit into this. So, yeah. And, if anything, start spreading those videos as much as possible, because I have a feeling the algorithm is not going to be as kind to them.
Yes, please do that. I mean, we're seeing the drop off already. So when we tell you, please help like, please help share, we really do mean that. Because, this algorithm is going to show you to a certain extent, but that's going to stop, and it's going to stop real soon if you want the message spread. And I don't think there's cultured. Is there any video that breaks down ESG and stakeholder capitalism most recently the way that our videos have done recently?
No, your videos are doing exactly what needs to be done. People hear the words or the letters ESG or CEI or all these other terms, and it's kind of a disconnect. Your videos have taken it to the next level, explained it in the best possible way, easily digestible. And it's available for anybody to understand exactly what's happening. And Tom was actually just talking about how they lost a version of a credit score at Bud Light because they didn't support the influencer that they hired.
They lost their CEI score.
Yes, and which is the corporate equity index, which is directly tied to that particular part of this equation. and it really, really hurt them. Target's desperately trying not to lose that, but at the same time, they're all involved in this company that I'm going to expose, or not company, excuse me, this organization that I'm going to expose later this week in a video I'm doing. And I hope that Andre will do a video on it as well, although we'll have to see. That one's a little murkier and a little more dangerous.
Yeah,
So
we'll see about that.
I think I will. I'll venture down that path. We'll see what happens to me.
What culture's talking about here is why you see this song and dance with these companies, and it's like, well, why don't they just do this, or why don't they do just that? Well, like the Target thing, for example, they pulled them out of the main area to try to appease one crowd, but they're still there. You can still get them. You can't get them online. You can't get them on the front part of the store. But if you ask somebody, they'll just take you to the shit in the back. It's still there. So they're thinking that's going to save their ass on this. It's not. They're going to have the same problem they had that Bud Light had.
Yeah.
Like,
and
because
also
Bud Light did the same thing. Yeah, it was a song and dance. They were trying to play both sides, and it's not going to work.
And because of that, they really have to double down right now for Pride Month, which we're seeing already. I've seen like some people are like surprised. Why are they doubling down? Well, they need to get their EIC score back up again. That's why.
Because they lost a bunch of points. Yep.
The vociferous right, however, have got to be careful about overplaying their hand. The North Face stuff, I think, was they've taken a little bit of, they've gotten a few really good victories. Even Target, I think, made a mistake with what they were displaying. However, North Face, I saw their ads. They were marketing to gay individuals who like hiking and being outdoors, and that was it. They were not encouraging kids to be
anything else.
Gay hikers.
I agree, Paul. What you're saying is we can't be jumping at ghosts. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I agree with you.
And I
can't be chasing ghosts. Exactly. Yeah.
So if it's, you've got some,
I agree with that, Paul. That's a very good point. Very good point.
Then don't overplay your hand, because then suddenly you're giving an opening to the Bud Lights of the world.
Right.
No, you're absolutely correct, Paul. And this is what we've said before on certain movie reviews and other things too, because just because something may lean into something, you can't, it's woke. It's woke. It's like, is it really though? No, it's not.
Right.
Not in all cases. You're just jumping at shadows or chasing ghosts, as we were just saying. And
just
something like that
is a black person on screen doesn't have to mean that it's woke.
Exactly.
Just because there's a gay person in the advertising doesn't have to mean that there's
an agenda or something. Yeah, it's basically people are now flinching at nothing. There's no fortitude within the individual when they're seeing these types of things. They flinch, they react, they have a knee-jerk reaction, and they scream like oh crap, like in I'm forgetting the actor's name, but sorry,
Sam Kinison?
No, Donald Sutherland in Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh yeah, that thing, yeah.
So I'm always trying to be watchful for that, and even with The Littlest Mermaid, I went, okay, let's see if the movie is good. I mean,
we've ran into it a few times, and Mario Brothers recently, people were kind of,
but because of social media, there are people who make bank on the fact that they can raise ire. That's just the nature of it.
But also, here's the thing, Paul, though, because it's not just that people can raise bank, what have you. There's a context that has made people now so hypersensitive to this.
There's that too.
That is why. There's a reason why people are hypersensitive. That's because they have fed up. They're being bombarded 24/7, told that they're craps and piece of shit and stuff like that, that they're all kinds of ists and phobes, and then everything is shoved in their face, and that means that people are starting to have enough, and that's when you also start seeing ghosts when there aren't any, which one has to be careful about. But one has to keep in mind, even the people that overreact, they don't overreact for no reason. They don't so in a
social media has created a troll class. So that's part of the challenge too, is if you go back to even Gamersgate, the trap that they fell into was there was a group of sarcastic, nasty, I'm going to have some fun with this shit contingent of gamers, which is part of the culture. And the problem was the mainstream press, which for decades, well, not decades, maybe a few decades, has blamed video games. Every year they came out with a story about how video games increases, rape and murders and gun violence and mass murders. So that group of individuals that, went off on the Gamergate thing and had some fun at the expense of what people I won't mention, unfortunately, they played into the hands of the mainstream media, who went, "Oh, look at those misogynist assholes," when that was just not just a small minority of the Gamergate group, but these people did that on purpose. I mean, this was their fun.
You know what that was? That's called self-fulfilling prophecy, because that is what
go.
the media had gone and basically created.
Correct.
And then you have some people are going to be like, they're going to be trolls anyway. You always have that anywhere. But
and
many
then they
more
were
of them
exploited.
were like, okay, so that is the box you put me in. And this is not just gamers. This is everywhere. This is across society. Whenever people are boxed in, people are falsely accused of being this, that, or whatever. You certainly have this in like many places where you have like a lot of immigration, and certain groups are accused of being not exactly productive members of society, let's say, and then many of them will become like, well, you know what? You don't give me a chance. Fuck you. I'm going to be exactly what you tell me I am.
Yep.
This is something that you have, and I submit that was the case with the whole Gamergate as well. Like,
and we're getting to that point with this.
Yeah, some of them were genuine, but many of them, they were created by that thing that were media driven.
No, and you're exactly right, Andre, because I've even had that moment where I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'm an istophobe, because I'm not going to put whatever specific one I said at that time, just so I don't get into that business. But the point is like, whatever, if that's what you say it is, then that's what I miss, because you guys change the goalposts so often, every day of the week, sometimes several times a day, to where nobody knows what nothing is anymore. And I've gotten to this point where I've just had enough. But getting back to what we were talking about before, there is something to be said about, jumping at shadows and some of the things that we have done in the past. And you're right, Paul, we have to watch that and be careful, because otherwise we're going to become exactly what they are claiming we are. That's the problem. Yes.
That is the issue. And I'm trying to be always watchful about
absolutely.
Well,
it's also part of the goal too of pushing that far, is to make the people become what they are being accused of.
Well, and that is why we need people like Paul that also can like push back and point that out.
Yeah. Yep.
And we find a balance.
Then back to super chats here. Valientes, I think I'm saying that right. I hope. $10 says Splash Mountain last day is tomorrow at Disneyland, so get out there and check it out if you haven't yet, because it's the last chance. Bad week for Disney Splash because of supposed racism. Yeah, I roll.
I thought it was already taken down.
No, they had made the decision to. Yeah, from Folklores of Brer Rabbit and Uncle Remus, a shaman-like storyteller, Walt understood these things. Yeah, I've talked about this with quite a few people, in fact, and they agreed. Like Lorena and I had a great conversation about how these were stories that were passed down through families, and basically the fact that they call this movie racism is really kind of bullshit, because nobody else was making these kind of movies back then.
Nope.
The fact that Walt Disney decided to preserve these stories this way says a lot, and the fact that Disney is trying to destroy them now, or trying to pretend they don't exist, is even more revolting.
And is called a racist story.
I think that is completely disgusting, because you know what those stories are from. Like, I love folklore. Like, I'm not a folklorist myself. I cannot claim that, but I love folklore. I love mythology. I absolutely love comparative mythology. And what Disney has done right here, both with the censorship of the movie Song of the South and of this whole thing here, is that they have taken genuine African American culture, folklore, stories, mythology, and they have decided that this is racist and cancelled it. And that is disgusting beyond words.
Yeah, it is. And look, if you still want to see this attraction, it's at a vastly superior Disney park that's operated by Oriental Land Company in Tokyo. So if you want to go and check out
I'm
Splash
not going to go all the
Mountain,
way to Japan to go to Disney World.
it's pointed out in the chat that that the Japanese have given Disney officially the middle finger when it comes to this attraction and many other things, because again, it's vastly superior there. The park is cleaner, more well maintained in Tokyo. If you're looking for that Disneyland experience you got when you were a child, it's in Tokyo, folks.
But yeah, no, Andre is completely correct. I agree. It's a very racist thing for them to keep this down, because it is a preservation of Black culture in America. And there's a lot of people that felt it was just that. It was a love letter to those stories. And what individuals are seeing is just little minor nitpicks about it. They're deciding to keep it.
Although it is a ride that needed updating.
That may be a different discussion. You're not wrong there. Maybe, Paul, like, there is something to be said. Like, I'm sad that I could never go see the old King Kong ride or Jaws ride at Universal anymore. But guess what? Universal knows what they're doing, and they've updated constantly. You know, Back to the Future ride and E.T. are other things that went away eventually. But guess what? Harry Potter is what the kids are into now. Mario and stuff are what the kids are into now. I get it. I totally get it. It's just things change. But guess what? They're going with the wings of change in the right direction as to where Disney's going the other direction, it feels like. I think it's kind of the point we're getting at. And the Ministry of Wrong Thing says, is it just me, or is Disney letting Bailey dress considerably more sexual off-screen than typical Disney princess girls? Normally, I wouldn't care or notice, but it just seems strikingly apparent. Well, I don't think they have anything to say with how she dresses normally, because that would just be her and her designers, or whatever you call it, the people that handle her entourage.
She's got a music career where she wears skimpy outfits.
Yeah, that's probably it. I don't think there's anything more to
I
it
will
than
say
that.
On the other end of this, some of the girls were chit-chatting, and I'm sure they may bring it up tonight in the Toxic Femme, about how they felt some of the dresses and stuff she had in this movie weren't very pretty. They thought one of them, in fact, looked like rags, was one of the quotes I got in there. So I'm sure they'll have an interesting discussion tonight about this movie. We'll see who happens to pop in and then talk about it, because that's kind of the real audience for this movie, if you think about it, and that's who's going to see it according to the demographics.
About Bailey so much, I think we've turned her into a star.
Possibly.
Well, we'll see her with her next 2-3 movies. If she gets like a new round after the current ones.
Yeah, and then Jeffrey Hallam says, yeah, but what are the chances people didn't realize Avatar Part Deuce was Disney? Oh, quite a few. I certainly didn't realize it was Disney movie until movie when it came out. That's just it. Fox is now just more or less a label, though. People need to understand that. It's not
exactly. Disney didn't make it. Cameron made it. Disney just released it.
Yeah,
just
but at the same time,
released it before.
Yeah, so he made it through his production company and all that business. Yeah. But anyway, let's see here. How many more Disney ones do we got here so we can get going? Callum says we missed one of your chats. Actually, we didn't miss it, Callum. I'm bouncing around here. We're trying to get to the Disney stuff first, and then we'll move on because we got other topics, and then we'll get to the rest of the super chats. Don't worry, we're trying not to forget anybody. It's just trying to keep things a little more organized than usual. It just doesn't always work out that way. And then Mike Laparco says, just wait until we have personal ESG scores. This is what I'm talking about, Mike. I'm scared of. And then on that note, our Mike says the last set of videos are the most concise, informative, direct, honest, insightful videos that provide breadth and depth to the full scope of this woke WEF ESG evil initiative. Yes. And not just because it's our video do I recommend it, but yes, I agree. Andre explained it better than anybody I'd heard explain it before. And then Space Monkey says,
and also Pablo did an amazing
job in editing. Well, and I did too.
I
did a couple of those too, but
you did the ones before that. So that was truly a team effort to make all of those happen.
But no, like somebody asked yesterday, and I gave you all the credit on the writing side of things, because I'm like, you were the one who came up with how to tell that story. Pablo and I just had to figure out how to do it visually. That was a bit of a challenge, but it's not nearly as much of a challenge as other things have been in the past, I think. And then Space Monkey says, as the left destroys themselves with wokeness, but the right is destroying themselves with idiotic opinions on video games and anime. That's true too in some cases. And again, this is why I've always been more of a centralist, but yeah, I hear you. Jeffrey Hallam says ESG is anathema. Anathema. Thank you. To a free society. I'm assuming that's not a good thing.
It's again
not very, no.
And
I've never heard that
is,
word before.
Completely against the bad. It is bad.
Gotcha.
The opposite.
And then David March says DEI goes away with 5% interest rates. BlackRock's power comes from being able to borrow at zero cost. This is what I was talking about. Yeah, the borrowing factor. Oh. Now that banks can loan money and make money doing it, who needs BlackRock? Well, this is where the scores come in and all that business, right on?
Yeah, because it's not. Don't make the mistake of thinking that it's just BlackRock, because it isn't. ESG is linked to credit now pretty much across the board. The credit lines, which are big enough that huge corporations actually can benefit from them, good luck finding one that isn't ESG linked. It goes way, way, way beyond BlackRock. BlackRock is one company, but they are not the only ones. And also, with interest rate stuff like that, well, that doesn't help those already in debt. Like, for instance, Disney, that bought Marvel, Lucasfilm, and Fox. That was the big one, all on lent money. That doesn't go away with interest rates.
Nope, they still got to pay for it. And Callum Lyle, this is the one I think you're referring to, sent in 5 earlier and says, and I'm a phobic, blah, 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 blah. And this is what I was saying too, for going against Pride. Well, I'm not going against Pride, but I don't like them including kids in this business, which is an excuse for activists to show depravity protects kids. Exactly. And I think you feel the same way from what you're saying here. And then on that note, Dr. Longdongler also sent us a thumbs up. If you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, there's 2,000 of you out there watching. Please hit that thumbs up. It doesn't cost you a dime, and it only takes a second of your time.
I'd like to see drag seniors story time.
Yes.
That's what I'd like to.
Actually, that I have no problem with. If they, because that's adults and they can get a kick out of that.
Okay, that was a joke. That
actually, I'm being serious.
No. But
go to the old folks' homes and put in drag shows.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean,
absolutely.
If you're not interested in kids, but that being said, again, this is one of those things we have to be really careful about. Is that which kind of drag and who's doing it? Like I've said many times before.
That's
I've
true.
been on stage with several drag acts. We've been on the same bill. And if these guys or girls, whatever, girls, GURLS, went to do a library reading time, they'd have a great time. It would be really enjoyable, but they'd be reading, the standards, whether it was Cat in the Hat or something like that. It wouldn't be, how to make
a real performance with regards to the story, and it wouldn't be about the drag queen themselves.
Correct. And I loved these guys. I loved performing with them, and they were fantastic. So, there's a whole different contingent that I would have no problem with, these guys who did very lewd drag shows. I mean, I was there. We were having a howling great time. But if they went to a library to do this stuff, they would be completely on their best behavior, really enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
The trouble is there's a once again, a contingent of people who have sort of snuck into this that are predators, and they've kind of ruined it for everybody. And then they'll rightly jump on it and say, oh, you can't have drag at all at libraries. I don't have a problem with it as long as they're reading just regular library books and not, why
singing
your
regular songs and stuff. Yeah.
It's all about how they're presenting it. Exactly.
Yeah.
When you got somebody out there with a dong hanging out of their fucking dress, that's a little hard to
so we have
justify.
Yeah. We've seen, videos of drag story time where a guy's playing wearing a really tight
and a
crotch
thong and something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With a
While reading not the classics, but genderqueer.
Correct.
Exactly.
That's not the thing. That's the predator nature of it. Where conversely, you have someone that wears like basically what looks like a royal wedding gown, drag queen, or from head to toe,
or
like
Dame
Queen of
Edna.
Hearts.
It looks like Dame Edna.
Dame Edna is exactly who I was going to say. Like Dame Edna would come in dressed like the Queen of Hearts and read Alice in Wonderland or something like that. Exactly what you're getting at.
Again. There's no nuance out there. Social media is not good for nuance. I'm always trying to find what the truth is in any situation, and it drives me nuts when one brush is used to tar and feather one whole group of people, because no group is homogeneous. There's just so many different subsets of every single group.
Yeah. Speaking of subsets, WandaVision's getting a spinoff that nobody really asked for because Disney doesn't get the meme, or Marvel doesn't get the meme as usual. Morbius. Agatha spinoff receives lengthy episode count. So, Andre, you were saying in the headline we get threatened with some Agatha here.
Yeah. Disney has promised or threatened, however you choose to look at it, with an incredible 9 episodes of It Was Agatha all along. Now, I will say first and foremost that I think that WandaVision, I know that series has its fans, but I submit that WandaVision ruined Marvel on Disney+. That set the stage right there for something that just didn't work. It had like good intentions, but it just ruined everything. It ruined Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because while audiences didn't know this going in, it turned out that WandaVision was actually the homework you needed to watch before seeing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It wasn't a sequel to Doctor Strange, the first one. It was a sequel to WandaVision. And now you will have to have seen both WandaVision and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and who knows what else in order to enjoy Agatha. It Was Agatha all along. And the big question is, who the hell wants it? It's a side character from another series. Yeah, I know that she has a presence in the comics. And you know who else does? About 1,000 other characters, of which probably around 100 would be far more suitable for a Disney Plus series than this. And it's going to be 9 episodes.
You know
9 episodes.
I'm going to, since the actress who I'm aware of is a fantastic scene chewer, I'd say of everything that they've done, this might actually be the one that works.
We don't know. Maybe it'll be amazing. I'm just saying,
I have a lot of confidence in her as an actress.
Oh, I have
nothing against the actress, but I'll take that bet, Paul, and I'll say this is going to be the new winner of the least watched Marvel. This is going to beat the Marvels for the least watched one you watch.
You might as well have some fun here. Like, let's have fun.
I'm game. I'm game. I'm really good at wagers. Yes.
I'm going to roast this thing.
And I follow through. People will tell you I've dressed in drag because people have followed through with their end of the bargains.
There you go. Hey, I owe somebody a pizza right now because of the over exuberance I expected from John Wick 4. So
no one minds the actress. The actress is fine here, but it's the whole concept of everything that they have at their disposal. And this is what they do a series about. How is this going to fit into the larger tapestry? Because again, this is continuing Wanda's storyline. And after Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and how unlikable she was there, how many are excited for that storyline to continue?
Well, I agree with you there.
Wanted to see Agatha series be told.
Yeah, I mean, they really turned Scarlet Witch, who I think everyone was a huge fan of.
Yeah.
And could very well have been maybe not the next Tony Stark, but up there. And they just totally ruined it.
Completely. And I think that this series right here, of course, it could be that this is going to be the one that's to nail it off. But here, keep this in mind, though. This series was written the same time as She-Hulk. This is before they had gotten any kind of feedback that this ain't working.
Wow.
This is from the woke, low-quality Marvel writers. They are the ones who have written this.
This is also built off the popularity. Well, it could be, but I was going to say this is also built off the popularity of a song that was popular for like 10 seconds, but mainly because it was a meme. And that's why I brought up the whole Morbius thing before, is because
Agatha all along.
Yeah, I don't think they got what people were making. They kind of were more making fun of it than actually enjoying it, from what I could tell. But that may be me. I don't know. I found it cringe. Like the whole WandaVision thing was, at first it was decent, and then it just went off a cliff. And it really made me mad that we had to watch that for homework.
It went normal is the problem. It didn't go off a cliff. It went conventional. That was what the problem
I
with
don't know about
WandaVision
that.
was.
All right.
Oh, totally.
Well,
It went totally
this-
conventional.
This
Oh,
thing,
okay.
this thing is going to suck rocks, and I'm looking forward to roasting it. That's going to be like my jam. I'm going to lean into this one. I think it's going to be god awful, and I think it's going to be another write down for Disney. I think this is a planned write down as of right now.
Who's the creatives behind it?
I don't know. Probably dump truck in a room full of 18 women. I
The
mean,
same people behind WandaVision and She-Hulk, probably.
Yeah, I mean, if She-Hulk's anything to gauge by, as Andre suggests, I have a feeling that we got problems here. I think we're going to get Gorlock level.
I'm going to say it's going to be a huge hit only because everything has been so dreadful. They've got to have I'm going to play the percentages.
Yeah, they're due for a hit now, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, something has to work. So
I'm playing. You know what the beauty is? The beauty is that if you are right, this clip is forever, and you're going to get so much credit out of it.
You will get credit. If you're right, Paul. If you're right, or
careful with what you say now because you might jinx it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything more.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Because I mean, this clip is forever, Paul. So
yep, it is forever.
So yeah, but just for fun, before we move on, let's see if we can find out exactly who is the showrunners here. I think it's the same showrunners that did WandaVision.
More than likely.
Yeah, I believe it's the same one, and I will say flat out, I absolutely hated WandaVision. I couldn't stand it. I thought it was off to a good start, but it became so unbelievably stupid as things progressed there. So long, so overdrawn.
Yeah, it's the same people with WandaVision, it looks like here. Jack Schaefer, Rachel Goldberg, and Ganja Monteiro.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're due. I'm telling you, they're due.
Well, they're due like an overdue 2-year baby because this shit sucks, Paul.
I'm just telling you,
given the stuff they've worked on so far, they haven't even done 10 things. So yeah, they're not in the area for percentages of getting one out of the park.
Oh, script.
I like your enthusiasm, Paul. I do. I really do. I respect it, and I love the half full glass full kind of mentality here. But
no, I'm just trying to say,
I think Guardians of the Galaxy showed us one thing and one thing only. People are fucking done with Marvel, and the only reason the movie did as well as it's doing is because it's a decent movie. But it's starting to. I'm sad to see that it's going to probably not even make any fucking money at the end of the day. Like, it really looks like it's not likely here because I bet it's going to somewhere settle in the $600 million range, which is not good, which means they've lost somewhere in the $50 to $100 million on this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know about this. I mean, I gladly would share that same bet we just had before, Paul, on this one, on that one, but.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't have to worry. I just found a copy of Mystery Men on DVD. I had a VHS copy. I found one, a used DVD one. So after
I just got it on 4K. It looks
really
brilliant. Yeah.
I thought it wasn't available at all. It's like, I don't need 4K.
Kino Lorber just brought it out here not too long ago. Yeah.
Wow. It's okay. I don't
It
need
looks
4K.
Amazing too, actually, but yeah.
Yeah, but how much was the copy?
You can get it depending on this. If they have it on sale, you can usually get it under $20. I don't know about up there, but yeah.
So
I'll send you the link to where they got it, and you can kind of compare.
I got this used one for $5. So
honestly, that's a movie I would buy for you. It would probably cost me just as much to send it to you as it would to buy it, though.
It is a great movie.
Do you have 4K capability, though? That's the question.
Yes, I have a PlayStation 4.
And do you have a 4K TV?
I don't buy 4K TVs.
Well, then
I buy
pointless.
720. I buy 720p TVs.
But what I will do
makes everything look cinematic.
Okay, what I will do, Paul.
Super crisp, edgy video. I hate. I think it looks like garbage. So
all right, what I will do, Paul, is since I have the original Blu-ray, now that I have the 4K that I really have no huge use for, I don't think, or one of the other, I'll get it for you. Don't worry. I'll send you a care package or something at some point. knowing
So
you want that movie.
But I have
All
to
right.
go.
Well, we have a few super chats for you,
Sure.
actually. Shirogami says, Chato, check out the anime for So I Am a Spider, So What?
Oh,
A girl reincarnates as a spider monster in a D&D style dungeon. Bonkers, poignant, and
Oh, wow.
fun.
That sounds great. Hold on. Let me write that down on my
Yeah.
list there. What was it? Sorry. You went
Whoops.
by. So
I'm a spider, so what?
Spider. So what? That's a great title.
I don't know if you could forget that. Yeah, I was going to say, it's pretty... And then Action Com says, is Chato invisible? He seems to be blending into the background behind the mile marker sign. Yes, I don't understand what's happening here. It's
I'm
like
wearing camo.
Yeah.
And that's a highway marker.
That's right.
Yes.
Highway
Yes.
17.
I got the joke. Let's see here. And this was one that actually is a little towards you. Andrew Etsy says, good morning, distinguished gentlemen. Saw Mead yesterday on your segment on stand-up comedians. Have you heard of Bernard Manning or Roy Chubby Brown? If anybody has, it'd have to be you, Paul, because he's a
Bernard Manning sounds familiar, but
Yeah.
Roy Chubby Brown, no.
Yeah, not ringing any bells here
There's
either.
an awful lot of stand-ups out there, and nobody's making money.
Yeah.
It's a very tough business. Yet they want to be in it. Like, it's amazing.
The Icelandic Filipino says, I got a confession. I wasn't Chato's biggest fan before, but after FNT, I'm now one of his biggest fans. It was like he was born to be on FNT. No, he's mine. Chato was so good and so funny. That's
I'm
right.
much more serious here.
Yeah.
Because you guys talk about important business stuff. And
Well, you get to let loose on Sunday nights. You know that. We got to get you on a mead one of these days, too. You'll have fun.
fine. The FNT crew are a completely different crew. They're just all nuts.
Yeah. Scott Ruggles says, Paul, thank you for the recommendation of Primo. Very funny. Wasn't that the one that Paulie told you about?
Paulie told me about it, and then I've watched it, and I think it's fantastic. Really good.
Yeah. David March says, for you, Americans Day is one of the most celebrated holidays, but for me and Paul, it's Monday. Well, and Script Doctor, too.
Yeah.
Don't leave him out.
Which is why I got to get back to my real world.
And then Pablo Papano says, Paul's success for Hollywood is destroying white patriarchal brands. Disney, Star Wars, etc. Stop thinking they're trying to be profitable.
Nope.
Well, and this is where we got into this whole subject of it's also about the credit ratings, too.
Yep.
No, they're definitely trying to be profitable. It's just not working.
Yeah. And then
No one
Mexican Iron
intentionally
Man
wants to lose money. That's just silly.
No. Well, they don't care if other people lose money. It's just
Exactly. They don't care if other people lose money. It's themselves that they don't want to lose money.
That's the thing. You got to remember, it's other people's money. Yes. Mexican Iron Man says, Paul Chato, you are no longer progressive or liberal. You are now identified as honorary conservative, Republican, Southern, honorary red state bro. I did that with one breath.
You know what? I'm almost never canceled by the Southern Republican Baptist bros. Almost always canceled by the left-wing wokers.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's just ask them a question, they explode and disappear.
This is something that many people associated with the left tend to discover that's where the cancellation comes from, not from
Oh yeah, I got into a big argument with this wonderful white woman who was effusive about the way she was talking about black people. I went, boy, this was really sick. I said, you know what? You just like black people as pets. And she just, that was it.
Wow.
She got really mad at me. But it was clear. It was like this white champagne guilt thing. And you're going, you know what? You don't really know a black person, do you?
No, and they're usually the most racist ones of the bunch. That's the thing. Going along with everything we were just saying earlier. Exactly. Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things where, you know what? You're overdoing this, lady. That's
they want to segregate even more. So Mr. Tickle Trunk says, go Paul, never react how your enemies want you to. Exactly.
Well, the key is to ask questions. They don't like answering questions. That's really.
And if worse comes to worse, just stick your finger in their bum.
Yeah, never get into one of those.
That confuses them.
You know, back and forth arguments. Arguments are a complete waste of time on social media. Your best bet is always to ask questions. Be Socratic.
Sorry, I just had to. STR Redwell says, Paul, the anti-drag show bill in Florida was written so vaguely that it caused Furry Convention Megaplex to ban anyone under 18. You know, honestly, STR Red Wolf, I'm not so sure that's a bad thing. Because furry is also as well seen as a bit of it's sexually driven. So I'm gonna have to side with.
I just have a problem with a huge volume of laws and bills anyway. Overall, I think I think we have a natural tendency to want to treat each other well. Good old do unto others, and I don't think laws necessarily help with that. I mean, my favorite saying is from Lao Tse: "For every law we enact, we love each other less."
Yep.
And for me, that means that common sense should prevail, and the fact that we want to treat each other well and respect each other and be with each other, that needs to trump everything else. So I have a huge problem with one law after another. Then that has to be so finely crafted that nobody can, figure out what the loopholes are. I mean, there's no winners. Everyone will find a loophole in everything.
And it's micromanagement of society, which micromanagement doesn't work.
No. That's the other part of it. So yeah.
And STR says we may be bored, but at the same time, the problem is it's so attached to the fetish that I think, in this case, I'm going to have to side with the whole.
I just wish everyone would be nice.
And then Mario Trillo says, "Senior drag story time. Chato, are you foreshadowing a new show?"
How did you go? That's what I'm going into. Senior drag story time.
Executive producer right here.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's
executive
producer. Drag to the grave.
I don't even have to.
Your co-executive producer script.
Yeah. And then Sontar says, Paul's right about Evangelion. You only think it's good if you saw it at 14. Rise Sephinon is the actual good version of it.
There you go. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could be. I don't know anything about that. I'm trying to see if there's anything else for Paul here before he
well, this goes with the other one earlier. Wolven Weaver says, "So I'm a Spider is so good, but the animation is very cheap. I'd still recommend it, but don't be surprised if it's not visually amazing."
That's okay.
So
I mean, it doesn't have to be One Punch Man or Sirens of Titan. It's okay.
There you go. And I think that's all that had to do directly with you, Mr. Chato. If you have to leave us, then
nope. I have to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You guys are great. And yes, I do recommend watching Andre's. The last 3 videos especially have been like out of the park.
I haven't asked you, so then I take it you approved of them.
Yes, they were really they're so good. I listened to them at normal speed.
Well, I shall take that compliment with the intention it was given.
See, that to me is a YouTube. One of those promo headlines. So good, you'll listen to it at normal speed.
Pilgrim Media says you have forced me to rewatch Lust in the Dust. Well, you're in luck because Vinegar Syndrome has that in print.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, everyone.
Take care of yourself, Paul.
Everyone, thank you so much for having me.
And speaking of Pilgrim Media, he was also one of our early super chatters who said, "Rip my Uncle Fred Blackie Swenson, KIA the Bulge." Yes. Oh, sorry to hear about your uncle, but yes, it's Memorial Day here in the States, and that's kind of what it's all about. So thank you for the donation, Pilgrim, but sorry to hear about your uncle. And Andrew Etsy says, "Good morning, distinguished gentlemen. Saw me." Oh, we got this one already, so thank you for that one. I just forgot to unplug it. Here, there we go. Mecha J Waltman says, Indy 5's minor problem is that some, like my dad, didn't like how Indy 4 played out and checked out. Shall we bring up the highest grossing IP again from last night? I don't know if we're going to get into the list again. That might be for another day, but it'll be interesting to see how Indy plays out because, as I pointed out, this is a different audience. And we'll see how much Crystal Skull had an effect on this movie, but I don't think it's going to have as much of an effect as a lot of people think it will. What do you guys think?
Culture?
I don't think you're going to get the fans back that really found this film, the previous film, distasteful. And I think you can add to that people who have now strongly suspected everything that's going to occur in 5. I suspect that I think you're going to have a lot of people checked out, Walt, man.
I wish I had your faith in the general population culture. I really
dude,
do.
Before it was so bad, Tom, and I mean, I know people personally that aren't going to see this film just based on the fact that, you know, they dislike the Crystal Skull so much, and there is growing disdain for this Phoebe Waller-Bridge person. So I think that's going to contribute as well. I think it's more than a minor problem. I think Waltman's onto something here. I know for a fact I wouldn't be going to see this movie if it weren't for the fact that I'm going to do a review on my channel, because this is going to be a movie I watch so you don't have to.
I hope the audience is that smart, but I'm not so sure. Script Doctor, what do you think?
I think it'll be strong, but depending on the actual quality of the story, it could have a very, very steep dive from the second weekend out.
Interesting. Andre?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that. I think the time has passed. It's not just the length of time since the previous movie and that the audience were burned out of that. Indiana Jones, the last movie was in the late 80s. So it's now almost 30 years without a major footprint other than a really bad movie, right?
Yeah.
I think that those that were going to see that, it's an aging fan base.
Yeah.
It's an aging fan base. And they were burnt out.
Well, yeah,
the last
right.
movie.
Right, exactly, Under. What they didn't do is make it generational, right? They didn't bring the fans forward from the previous.
It's not generational.
Yeah.
You guys may be right, but I'm afraid that the general, and this is why I say this, because on Super Bowl Sunday, there was only one other thing I got messaged the most was, did you see that Michael Keaton's back as Batman? I got about 24 messages from my family and normie friends.
Yeah, how old were they?
No, they're just depending on the ages, but they're ranging from like my age to a little older to one that was younger.
How many did you get in their late teens, early 20s?
I think my kid brought it up.
How many else?
I don't know. None any younger than that, because I don't talk to people that young.
Who doesn't have a father who is so passionate about film as you?
Again, I don't talk to other people about their kids so much unless they bring it up.
I get, but I submit that it's not a generational thing.
Okay, well, anyway, the next one I got the most of was Indiana Jones, but you're right in the sense that it was almost all older people. And that's what I'm going to get at is I think. Here's the thing we cannot underestimate is that the normies don't give a shit about the stuff that we care about. That's a point. And like I said, this is the second thing I got the most messages about. And people just give a shit about Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones again. They don't really care so much about the last movie being bad. In fact, you have a lot of people that are in like my mom's range who didn't think it was as bad as most people did. They enjoyed it for what it was. You know, they didn't have a lot of the nitpicks that some of us had towards the film. And it didn't, yes, people didn't like it as much, but it didn't have the reaction that even the prequels had, mind you. Because there was people making, videos back then about the prequels, and they didn't really have as many about Indiana Jones. So at this point, I don't know. I have predicted that this audience has more in common with the audience that went and seen Top Gun, because who the fuck knew what Top Gun was under the age of 30 when that thing came out? So I'm just saying, don't underestimate it. But I think Script is also right. Don't underestimate the opening weekend, but I think it will have no legs because I think word of mouth is going to get around about how bad this movie is. What I think is going to be more hurtful is the fact that they dropped it a month early at Cannes, expecting it to probably get buzz going and good buzz going, and it did the opposite. Yeah, this is going to be one of the few times in history where they're going to sit back and go, you know what? There is a such thing as bad press. This is it right here. Because this is going to destroy this. If there's anything, it's going to be because of that. It's more so people are hearing, it's just another bad movie like the last one. There, I'll agree with you, Culture, that the last film has affected it. Otherwise, I think like Andre's right in the sense that we are so far removed from Crystal Skull. I don't think the general audience gives a shit about that anymore.
All right.
But I don't know if they really know who Phoebe Waller-Bridge is. That's the other thing.
And if they do, that's a negative.
That is a negative. Yeah, it's kind of like the Ezra Miller business. But anyway, moving on. Mecha J says, have you guys seen the recent backlash around Magic the Gathering race swapping Aragorn for their Lord of the Rings card game and are now crying racism. I heard about this a while back. I don't know about recently.
Yeah,
I
no, it's
remember-
like you're doing the rounds on Twitter and everything right now. You have like this dude holding this super magical sword, this black dude. Apparently, this then is Aragorn from like this series of cards or something. So yeah, heard about it, yeah, well, could play woke games, I guess.
Yeah, they're
Win
definitely
woke
winning.
prizes.
They're definitely winning woke prizes right now.
Yeah.
They gotta figure out a way to sell E1.
I know everybody keeps yelling at me for saying cans. I do it on purpose because that's how it's fucking spelled, like shul.
Yeah.
Shul?
Well, you know the French, like they spell it one way and then they completely ignore it when it comes to pronunciation.
Yeah, and they probably don't even pronounce it can either. It's probably
No, they do.
Con.
They actually do.
Is it really okay?
No,
Yeah,
con.
they totally do.
I was gonna say it's more like con. Yeah.
No, it is. It is. I've been there. It's con.
Yeah, come. Yeah, well, yeah.
See, yeah, we say can like a can of soda.
Cans.
And I'm actually saying it like the Cannes Film Festival. Like, yeah, but anyway.
Oh, I thought you were saying
Like ownership, but it doesn't have any ownership. It's a thing.
I thought you were talking about the beaches in Nice.
Shut up.
That's a can.
No idea what you're talking about right now. Just shush.
Okay, all right. Fine.
Just shush.
Okay.
You only got a few more minutes. We got a couple super chats to get through here, so be quiet. Nick Allen then says, all this would be depressing if not for Oppenheimer, Dune Part 2, Dead Reckoning, and Asteroid City. There's still some light. What's Dead Reckoning? I'm trying to remember what that is.
Dead Reckoning is the new
Mission Impossible. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Part 1.
I'm looking forward to Oppenheimer myself more than anything else there.
Yeah. Asteroid City looks interesting.
Yeah. That's the good word.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that yesterday when 2 days ago when I actually saw The Shining and 2001: A Space Odyssey in theaters in a double billing.
Now that's a double bill I'd like to see. There you go.
I have to say, of course I know both of those movies very, very well. I had them on DVD. I had them on Blu-ray. And when 4K became a thing, they were the first thing I got, because 2001: A Space Odyssey,
your favorite
depending
movie.
on which day you ask me, that's my favorite movie, and The Shining, that's up there as well. And seeing them both on the big screen for the first time in my life, but in a huge screen in an actual movie theater, holy shit! What have we lost in terms of the theatrical experience in filmmaking? Modern filmmakers, they ain't got nothing on that.
Was it 35 millimeter or was it just digital?
It was just digital.
Which soundtrack did they use for 2001? Do you know or no?
You are now asking a little bit too technical
I figured.
for me to be able to answer.
I bet you they would use the newer one probably because, that's just usually the way Warner Brothers is. I asked because
probably it would have been the newer one, yes.
Yeah. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but there's people arguing with me over Batman, the Mask of the Phantasm, because I had the gall to say that if Warner Archive doesn't handle this print, it's fucked.
Warner Archive, they can't handle anything.
Warner Archive is great. But when you get to the mainstream Warner side of things, they DNR everything to shit. This is what just happened to the recent Fleischer Superman cartoons.
Oh, God,
yeah,
looks
which
terrible.
hopefully they'll fix and re-release.
And let's hope, fingers crossed. But also a great example is Mask of the Phantasm. The original Blu-ray release looks amazing, handled by the Archive.
Yep.
The series, on the other hand, wasn't. And I'm sure Script knows where I'm going with this. There's tons of issues.
Archives fucked up Fearless Vampire Killers, though.
They may have,
well,
but that depending on when it was.
The Blu-ray restoration that I have is immaculate for the animated series. It's the Blu-ray for the Superman the animated series that they screwed up on huge.
Well, there's
they actually have shots where, because again they use animated chroma key in there, and there's shots of like Lex Luthor, screaming, and instead of seeing the window and the city of Metropolis out behind him, it's just green. And it's like, how do you miss that?
There's a couple of those in Batman, not as many. But another thing is that I know
I haven't
that
caught any of those in Batman. Not
well,
my
watch them again because there's audio issues too that they fixed on the digital versions, but they didn't fix on disc. They didn't issue fixing unless they fixed them quietly later on that nobody knows about. Because they did not reissue them as like if you bought them, you can get the new versions. Because there's like 3 or 4 episodes that are almost unlistenable on the Blu-ray because the audio is so fucking bad on them.
No, I've not noticed that, and I've seen them through many times. On disc.
Maybe you got it later, Prince, where they actually fixed them. But as far as I know, anybody who
got
bought
the
them
pre-order
earlier
stuff that came with the little. Migo,
well, I'll tell you the specific episodes to go back and check because they've actually fixed them on the digital. There was some fuck ups on there because that was handled by Warner, not the Archive.
Okay.
The Mask of the Phantasm was handled by Archive. And you're right, Superman was worse because they added a lot more DNR. And this is the other thing that the mainstay does that the other side does, that is they add a bunch of DNR to everything, especially the cartoons, the animated features and stuff, to where the Archive has not done that. Because I can't remember the name of the guy, but he handles the Archive side of things, and they fired him for a while. And that might be when that movie came out that you were talking about, Andre. I'd have to ask Robert. But they brought him back, and he's the only one who's been there to kind of watch over these things. I can't remember his name, but yeah, there's a lot of problems right now, and people are like, oh no, Warner's perfect. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, go look at the Batman movies and how they fucked them up. Or the Superman movies, for instance. We're finding more and more issues with those as we move along here that were never fixed. And a lot of these things are things that they've known about and they just never fixed. So none of them are perfect. And yeah, anyway, I know we went on a tangent there, but I was just curious.
Before
Brandon
we
Lent
list panelists here.
is a new member. Yes. Thank you so much, Brandon Lent. And he also sent us a super sticker. Thank you so much for that. Doug 1985 says, when me and my 7-year-old daughter went on the Simpsons ride, US Studios this year, recording had said, please keep your arms inside the DeLorean during the ride. My daughter was like, what? Do they have the wrong thing playing, or is there a joke there that I'm missing?
Oh, it could be that she doesn't know what a DeLorean is, or didn't catch the reference.
Well, I wondered if they replaced.
Ride, so
did they just Simpsons ride.
The Simpsons ride with this repaint Back to the Future with the Simpsons ride.
That's what I was implying. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, because the Simpsons ride. That's another simulator ride. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe. Interesting.
Probably did then, and they just never changed it, or they played the wrong tape that day.
Yeah. I'm very happy that I actually had the pleasure to take the Back to the Future ride back when that was a thing, and the Simpsons ride.
Yeah. DWD Amateur has been a member for 2 months. Thank you so much. Descrapto says, I think we, Kingdom Hearts 2 players, were too harsh on the Little Mermaid part where we see and hear Donald and Goofy sing alongside the main cast. Okay, I didn't know that was a problem. With that, I'm not a gamer. So Nelson Shrita says, waiting for that big Echo Agatha Sylvie crossover.
Oh, that's got to be coming.
Oh Lord, don't give him ideas. That's the last thing we need. Space Monkey says, I'm Spider Ridiculous Little Amazing Anime. So I'm a Spider Ridiculous Title Amazing Anime. Thank you for that. And then we have Helixix, I don't know, something like that. But they liked The Little Mermaid 2023. Well, good for you. Some people have enjoyed it, and that's fine.
Yeah, go for it. Glad you enjoyed it, and thanks for the support.
Yeah. Horseradish Power says, I managed to find secondhand Blu-ray for Galaxy Quest and Tropic Thunder Director's Cut on Saturday. Never seen Tropic, wanted to get it for preservation. Well, that actually too just got re-released by Kino Lorber, believe it or not. But cool, nice find. And Galaxy Quest is getting worked on right now and also has been released as well. Yeah. Mario Trillo says, people are smarter than you think, dumber than you can imagine. Exactly. There are people who will just consume next product, the McDonald's crowd, in other words. Yes. That is
and even among those, suddenly there can be brilliance. Like, people are stupid and incredibly bright at different times of the day. So never discount anyone.
Well, the thing that I've noticed is once you get the kids involved, that's where a lot of people are like drawing a line here.
Exactly. And then running us off today, Mr. Tickle Trunk says, we're almost at 1K likes. Hit it. Yes, we have more than 1,700 still watching.
We still got some member chats. We got We got a couple here. We got Toxic Man Flu, who's been a member for 11 months. It says, hi, Tom. Well, hello, Toxie. How you doing? And he also gifted 5 memberships. Thank you for that, Toxic Man Flu. We appreciate that. And then I think we're all caught up. So, yes. As far as, unless they missed any, and we apologize if we did.
We are at
970
974 likes. So everyone smash that like. 25 to go.
If you get it up to 1K, I'll give
go.
10 more. We'll get Sadie a treat.
Yes, do that. Give Sadie a treat. Do it for smash that like for Sadie.
Speaking of which, I want to thank everybody again for everything you guys have done. The GoFundMe is still open. If you want to, feel free to share it. I was reminded by others to keep pushing it, even though I don't like to. But thank you again for helping me with that. And we got Sadie's surgery set up for next week, and I'll try to keep you guys all posted as we move along with that as well. So thank you again. And then Ray Barker says, Tom is completely right about Warner Brothers. So disappointed in the Fleischer cartoons. I'm so surprised how few well-done restorations there are. Andre and I enjoyed Pink Panther movies with Sellers. Oh, I do too. I love the Pink Panther film.
Absolutely. I love me some Pink Panther.
It was one of the first things Andre and I bonded over, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, thanks for the support. And I also want to say thanks for Script and Cultured.
Yes.
We're still here, although you both
check
have
out
other
their channels.
places to be. So yeah, check out both their channels. Check out Script Doctor's Patreon. Check out Culture's daily 6-minute daily news, both of which are amazing and a source of my news. Links are in the description for both. There's the doggy. Cultured. Anything you want to plug on the way out the door?
Yeah, real quick. I did drop a video this morning that's doing quite well, talking about how Comcast is set to destroy Disney over the Hulu deal. So this should be fun. So something you're not hearing from the mainstream.
Did we get to 1K?
We did get to 1K, so Sadie can have a treat.
Where's Sadie? You want a treat? Here.
Poppers. Cone of shame.
Yeah, she hates being in a cone of shame. Poor girl.
Yeah.
She got her treat. Thank you so much, guys.
And Scripts, anything you want to plug on the way out the door?
No, just the Patreon, and feel free to peruse my channel in the next coming weeks. Now that the holidays are over, I've got some new stuff on the docket that I think you'll all be very entertained with.
Indeed. I'm looking forward to your own content myself. So everyone, go and subscribe to Script Doctor's Patreon. Go check out Cultured Casino. Check out Mr. Chato. And of course, check out Chris Gore's channel. Link is in the description for everyone and everything. Be sure to check back later for the ladies of toxic femininity. I'm sure they will have a fun time talking about The Little Mermaid and everything else going on. And between now and then, we're going to try to have one more video drop for you. Meanwhile, please do help share the epic video we put out breaking down stakeholder capitalism. That thing does not spread itself, and it does need your help to get seen by others. And I do think it's important that the message in it and what's really going on is disseminated far and wide.
Absolutely. So with that,
it is time, as my countryman Paradise Plain says, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.